unfinished vacation now. I have a concern.
Are you having trouble with your
No,
microphone?
it's just supposed to blink or it's supposed to be steady.
That's fine.
Celebration
That's fine.
isn't today, but that'll be the thing.
Right, not today. not
This
today.
this
So
thing
I'm just
won't go
looking-
unless now it's in here. Last week it was fine to be in that thingamabob, which means I lose my mouse. So annoying.
Sometime like August or September. we should
All right.
have a snapshot.
And your mouse can't plug into there?
It won't work if I go,
What's-
if it does that. Then
What the
I just
fallout
don't
looks
understand why
like.
that is it.
Yeah, it's all
You know what?
speculative right
Let
now.
me try
It's gonna be
this, like,
something.
one thing.
So, of course.
I'm a native of this area. We have never seen a downturn,
No.
really. There've been
And
some
there goes the
issues
camera
after the
still
Second
going.
World War, et cetera. But, the real estate market, I think it could take a big hit.
Well, we don't know what's gonna happen.
We don't know, but this is my
Things may
opinion.
come in, things may go out. It's chaos right
All right,
Sure.
all right, let me get Roberta in here.
And, you know, somebody told me, well, Harpswell is going to suffer because people are going to cut back tourism. On the other hand, they may cut
Okay.
back more expensive.
We are now
tourism
live
take that
and
cheaper day
streaming.
trip to Harpers Ferry.
now. Exactly. We don't know.
Or they may not be in the area. So I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
We don't even have good tea leaves to read at this point.
Pardon me?
We don't even have good tea leaves to read at this
Still
point.
have tea leaves for you, that's correct, Mike.
But absolutely, it's gonna mean some change of some kind.
Yeah. I think if I had to bet,
All right, we may not be able to get Roberta on as an actual panelist because of her being maybe on her phone or whatever. I don't know why it's not doing that. I'll try it one more time. Just kind of,
well, she's going to try it, huh?
she's on the line right now. She's on the screen. Right there.
Good morning, Roberta.
She is on time.
All right, there we go. Okay, you want to do a sound check, Roberta?
On mute, I think.
Hey, Roberta, can you hear us?
Okay, hang on. She's trying to fix herself as a panelist, which, okay, that looks good. All right. How are we doing?
Can you hear me?
The audio is not going through this speaker.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
All right, we can hear you. Just give me a minute, Roberta, because
Okay.
it's not going where it needs to go. Hang on. Why? All of this is just different this morning.
Lost the blue light here. Yeah, I think you unplugged something that was on. There you go. Okay.
Okay, try it again.
Testing, testing.
There we go. All right, push the plus button on there, Greg, Chris.
Do another test, Roberta. I need to turn you up.
Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing.
Keep going.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
There we go. That sounds good. Thank
That's
you.
good.
All right.
So where is the train right now?
Approaching.
It's approaching somewhere at all times. Unless it's going backwards.
Approaching here.
Okay, you can start. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Roberta, you still gonna catch? Let me get this. Roberta, you still gonna catch an 11:30 train?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. Good luck. At least we don't have the snow, huh?
Yes, thank goodness.
All right.
I think I just saw a call. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and call this special town council meeting to order for Thursday, February 20th, 2025. We have an established quorum of the town council with George, Storm, Chris, Greg, and Roberta is via train. Via train. And I think the first applicant for monies will probably be walking up the steps in a minute. But council, I just wanted to go over a couple issues for us to consider first. Pick your schedule that you have, and I want you to move G to follow U.
Which is G.
G, which is the Harpers Ferry Police, will follow the parking committee. And then to fill in that gap where the Harpers Ferry Police was, we're going to move T, which is the snow removal, up to follow F, and I'll try to keep us on course there. The only other thing that I want to mention is a couple of things, that we're here to listen, and we're not here to second guess the needs that all of our presenters have. That's not our job. They know what their needs are much better than we do. There'll be an opportunity for clarifying questions. We're not going to deliberate, and we're not making any decisions. We're basically going to get a feel for what the requesters' needs are, and then there'll be a time later, I guess next week, Debbie, yeah, that we will
26th.
actually deliberate and come to some decisions. I'm going to rely, and so should you, the Budget and Finance Committee. They have an awful lot of experience in doing what we're going to be doing this morning. So I've authorized the Budget and Finance Committee and Debbie, if they need to chime in at any time to clarify things based on their experience on how these discussions go today. So hopefully that'll all go smoothly. We'll try to keep on schedule. I realize this is a full day, but this is normal attire for the Budget and Finance and Debbie as we go through all those. I don't know, Storm, if you want to make a couple comments or not, or did I cover everything?
No, pretty much covers it, this one, this about, listening.
Okay. Debbie, did you want to have any opening?
No, I think you covered everything. Just a reminder that the 26th at 2:30 will be the deliberation meeting on this. So we do need to still establish a quorum. I've heard from 2 people. And then the 15th of April is laying the levy. So please put that on your calendars. We have not set the time for that. And if there's nothing else on the agenda, that will be a very brief meeting. But it would be a special meeting.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. All right.
This is Jennifer
This
Myers.
is Jennifer,
Mhm.
Come on up here and be more comfortable sitting at the table up here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, let's move a chair.
Just
Put her down
Okay.
there. I can't get her on the camera if you sit her there.
Deb, did you have a time on April 15th?
No, we have not set a time.
Jennifer, we have 4 members here of the town council: Chris Craig, George Owens, Storm DiCostanzo, Greg Vaughn, and I have Roberta B. Curry. She is on the telephone. She's traveling right now. And so this is a majority of the town council is present. And basically our mission this morning is sitting to listen to what your needs are. And we're not going to be making any decisions. We're not here to second guess what your need is. We just want to hear what your need is. And then there'll be a place and time next week that this council will deliberate and come to a decision on which of the presenters that we feel we have the financial capability to support. We may support all, we may support some. There's a lot of variables, and it helps us greatly with you here to present what the need is, and we'll just take it from there. And let me just turn it over to you. Just who you are and basically who you represent.
So I'm Jennifer Myers, Director of Jefferson County Parks and Recreation. And I appreciate you guys at least giving us the opportunity to come present to you. So I did bring a couple of packets that I can just pass down. If that works for you guys. Thank you so much. Would you like one of these as well?
I have one.
Okay, great. So as I'm assuming most of you know, every year the Jefferson County Parks and Recreation Commission kind of spearheads the fireworks display that happens in Jefferson County. That is scheduled this year for June 28th, 2025, and that will be at St. Michael's Park, as years in the past. The fireworks is something that we hear consistently from residents of Jefferson County that they want. They want to see it every year, and we work really hard with all the municipalities and other sponsors to make this happen for our community. Some of the benefits to fireworks in Jefferson County, the fun stays in Jefferson County, and our residents are not going outside of the county to see fireworks. It helps build community. It's local and it's a free event, which makes it equitable for everyone in the community. We use a professional pyrotechnic company. And we have, over the past few years, have been tracking and are very confident in saying that visitors are coming into Jefferson County to see the fireworks event that happens. So I'll just kind of, I guess, go through the slideshow a little bit with you. But as you can see from the heat map that we have there on page 2 from you guys, you know, people are attending the fireworks from Charlestown, Rankin, Shepherdstown, Bolivar, Harpers Ferry, and as well as Martinsburg, Winchester, Leesburg, and a few from even beyond that. So we really are hitting every municipality as well as county residents with this event. Approximately 13% of the attendees that came to the fireworks last year ate at a restaurant before attending the fireworks, or 12% got fast food after the event. Over the course of last year, we had, unfortunately, had to cancel the first night due to a storm that popped up. So over the course of 2 nights, we had about 9,000 people that came out to San Michael's Park to see the event. So it was actually bigger on the second night. I think the weather the first night scared people away, rightfully so. And then we had about 4,500 that came out to the second night of the event. And we just included some pictures throughout to show the event and what we had there. Like last year, if Harpers Ferry, you know, would like to be a part of this event this year, of course, your logo, all the social media advertising, everything will make sure that you guys get credit that you were a partner to make this happen. I will go through the expenses. Now these are, you know, estimated at this point. We are anticipating it's a 20-minute display of Class B fireworks. The shells are anywhere from 3 inches to 10 inches. And it includes a, you know, assortment of colors and shapes and all, you know, all kinds of fun. And it's in excess of about 700 shells. That is for our main display that we've done for the past, you know, I would say 15, 20 years at San Michael's. We are looking this year, depending on how all of the expenses line up, we are considering a higher option this year for the fireworks event, which would be option D that I have listed there. And it would include everything that we get in the 20-minute display, but then would also include fireworks on each side. So you have your main display in the middle, and then you would have 2 smaller displays that would be on each side of that fireworks that would come simultaneously, which would add a little bit more dimension to the show. So if we're able to add, and we have that kind of built into our budget here, to add option D, and if we don't come up with enough funding, we will go back to just a regular 20-minute show. So the expenses listed, you know, we have parking, trash removal, parking lot lights, equipment needed to dig the holes for the fireworks, porta pots for security. We also make donations to the local fire department. We have a little bit built in for part-time staffing might be needed. You know, advertisement setup, event setup, the fireworks themselves, which are $32,500. Some entertainment for the evening, and then we need to get a mass gathering permit from the health department. So all in all, the event is estimated to cost about $43,490. And then as far as income and sponsors, Jefferson County Parks and Recreation Commission, we put in about $10,500 for this event each year. The Jefferson County Commission has committed and will be providing $10,000. And everyone else listed there, we have requested a grant from the city of Branson. We have not heard official word yet, but that has something that's come through year after year. The city of Charlestown, we have a request that would be going into them. We requested into Bolivar as well. Of course, Harpers Ferry, we're doing this one with you, and then town of Shepherdstown. We're also looking for additional sponsors from businesses in the community. We do collect donations the night of the event, and that's usually around $1,000 that we get at the gates for that. And then we have a fundraiser planned in May to hopefully raise the additional money that we need to get to that $43,500. And then, we just included some, on the last page there, just comments that were on our social media pages last year, about the event. So we think it's a great community event. We love that everyone's been coming together the last couple of years, to truly make it that. And we're hoping to be able to continue that with your support.
Just to, it seems pretty clear, but just from looking at the income, it appears that each of the municipalities is contributing something and that the amount of the ask is scaled to the municipality. It looks like the Harpers Ferry ask is about 1% of the total cost. Is that correct?
That is my understanding. And I know we worked with kind of municipalities a few years ago to kind of come up with those numbers. So we haven't changed that on our end. We've just gone with what, each town has probably felt like they can contribute.
Right. And I'm just curious, the data in the heat map, is that from cell phone data?
Yes. Yeah, we had a placer at one point, which was able to help get us that data. We no longer have access to that, but with doing the concerts that we do, one of the grant programs that we had is able to help get us some of that data. So.
Right. So it collects the cell phone information and
right.
Can say where they are within a given period of time.
Yeah. So. I think it's great information when we do large events like this.
Mm-hmm.
One question maybe for you, this is right at the cusp of the fiscal year, and it actually is falling in 2025.
Right. So that's an important point. Usually, one point of clarification, you ask for reimbursement for the fireworks and you present the bill for the fireworks, and then we provide you in the check that you've paid for the fireworks, and then we provide you the reimbursement. Is that the pledge course as well this time?
Yes, okay. That is my understanding.
Right, so this will be specifically for fireworks.
Okay. Yes, and then you guys can reimburse, I think, after that, July 1st.
Exactly. And so again, July 1 is the turn of this fiscal year for this budgeting that we're working on. So what our process is that we ask, once you're ready to spend the money, that you come back to Budget and Finance, and that gives you the opportunity to have refined and reviewed your estimates and make that your final confirming ask. And then that goes to council for final approval. So we would suggest that, since this is for July, that you do come to us like in May, if you could, and just make that final presentation. That'll go into this council. They can approve for that next month. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Who have you received commitment from so far out of the 5 municipalities? I see, looks like Ranson is one that has committed so far.
So Ranson, I haven't received anything officially in writing, but they have committed that they will be a part of it again this year. So the Jefferson County Commission is the only countywide at this point. I go before Bolivar, I think next week. You guys are my first this year, so I think we'll start going to each.
But in prior years.
In prior years, every municipality has committed the past 2 years, I believe.
And what funding categories just come out of that?
This will be economic development.
Anything, and this again is June 28th.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, it's the Saturday before the 4th.
Right.
And that's been consistent, and really it's because the fireworks almost double in price. If we attempt to do it on the 4th, it's a lot more money.
Yeah, interesting.
And is this your biggest event of the year by far, or single event?
Single event, yes.
All right. Any other questions for Jennifer?
Not.
Okay, thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me.
Having gone to the fireworks for many years up at Bolivar Heights, it's nice that they're back.
I know,
Yeah.
we used to love that,
Yeah.
at our house. We get to watch them from our house.
I'll take the microphone. I'll take the microphone. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
How's your mother doing with her new eyes?
It's pretty good.
Good.
So she goes back next week, I think, for the second one, so.
I just had my second one. So.
So we're a little off schedule, so it's good to see you the other day.
So I think the next presenter is actually due at 9:40. So we do have 20 minutes in this first hour. And so if you want to move one of the town items forward, Mayor, we could possibly gain some traction with that. Maybe your streets and maintenance.
That one might be some, is that the one that there's a lot of detail on that?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
This one right here. This is paving, the storage units, and oh, it was just one of the storage.
Okay. So the one that will be here at 9:30?
I think 9:40 was the time that we had set for her.
And I could be flexible too. I could move either
Okay.
one of mine. in-
So this will be, the mayor will be speaking about streets and maintenance, which in your packet is item number O.
Why don't we go ahead and try streets and maintenance now? So you should have that in your packet as well. And we're looking at several items in here. One of them basically is the town paving. We've had a difficult time getting people to bid on town paving projects. It's been to get individuals to actually show an interest in coming in and doing paving jobs for us has been very, very difficult. We've had a lot of starts and then stops because of vendors not wanting or not interested in submitting bids. Plus, as we develop a bid package to go out, then all of a sudden we have additional areas that pop up principally because of the water department opening up streets, and then we got to come back and get into that. So it's been a moving target. But we have a fairly good list right now for the paving, and it will probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40K. Is that what we have vetting? And what did you have budgeted for this?
I think we had about 25.
Yeah.
And so I think the idea was that it looks like it'll be more now, and the hope would be that we could get it completed in 25, fiscal 25, but it may roll into 26, and maybe we do part in 25, part in 26.
Right.
So that's kind of why it's in this. We'll address, when we take apart the budget and put it back together again, we'll be able to address where it might more appropriately lay. But this, and it may just carry forward into 26, but at a higher number.
But that total will be 30 to 40.
Yes.
For the whole shit.
Right.
Like I said, this has been a moving target for years, not under my administration, but it was a moving target under Wayne also in the previous. It's tough to be in a small town where we do not attract a major paving company to come in and want to do this pothole or that street or whatever. But we think we've got a good package now, and the only thing that I think that may occur, again, will be additional issues arising from the water department, with additional street issues where we have to open up a street.
Right. But that cost is not here. That would be in the water budget. Yep.
But those add into the paving difficulties, and it's just been difficult to deal with. I think we're getting a good handle on it. The other thing is, if you would turn to page 2 on the amount of the maintenance storage that we have a maintenance storage unit that is out there that is completely packed with stuff that we use every single day to maintain the maintenance of this town. We also have a rental unit out there that a lot of the overflow equipment that Larry uses is stored in there. And it would be nice to consolidate our maintenance department. We've thrown around a lot of ideas how to do this, but I think there's a consensus regarding capital outlay of, what is the estimate, Debbie, 8 to 10K on this one, for a larger storage unit to consolidate all of the equipment that we have, town-owned assets, they're now located in two different areas. What we would be looking at would be some type of a unit that is architecturally cohesive with a historic district, that doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. And that's something that we can come up with down the line. There's a lot of different ways that these can be configured. The dumpster issue, that's been a bugaboo of mine for years. To me, it's just, there's got to be another way that we can take our dumpsters and make it look like they're not dumpsters in a historic district. I mean, we talked about putting like a stockade fence around them in the parking lot, but then the issue comes up with where we're going to put it. And we do own some property behind me on the hillside. There's been some thoughts about taking some of that property and doing things with it for the storage units, but this has just been something that has been a difficult thing to deal with for years and years and years. I know Roberta put an addendum in here regarding basically beautifying that area, and I totally agree with Roberta's assessment on that. I think there's some other clever ways that we can make that outside area appear a little bit more appealing to those that come through the town and visit the town and pull out of here with thoughts or negative thoughts, and we want to clarify that and make this more of an inviting area. It's, instead of being confronted with a bunch of dumpsters in your face. And I just think that we can do a much better job than that. Storm, Debbie, what else am I missing on this one?
Mayor, may I add some?
Go ahead, Roberta. I know you had some thoughts on this. We've got about, I guess, 10 minutes left.
And I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Roberta.
Okay, and thank you for including this all in one packet. I appreciate that. So I have talked to both of the refuse companies, and they are doing a study for us, or trying to figure out how much waste we do have between Friendship Fire and, I understand, our dumpster and the post office. I was hoping they would have had the data for me today in time for the meeting, but I apologize they did not. So I already have contacted them. What it looks like we could do is consolidate dumpsters, sorry. And but we would have to have two large dumpsters to maybe facilitate what Friendship Fire has and what we and the post office has, combining that. So the dumpster surrounds would be fairly large. And I think concrete block would be better because dumpster surrounds seem to get knocked over and bumped. And I think having the concrete wall and the bollards is going to make it last a little bit longer for us. And I think we can design it historically correct, like the mayor suggested. I think that would be great. And I do see that there are people that randomly dump stuff into the dumpsters at night and what have you. It's not necessarily our refuse, but I think the locks on the devices and the gates would be helpful to that, and probably reduce some of our costs on the pickups. It's not only us generating the waste, it seems to be mysterious drops. So I appreciate this. I'm sorry we didn't get the funding available for you for today, but hopefully I can still work on this and we can make it a nice presentation to get something done for it. So I appreciate the mayor bringing this forward as well.
Thank you, Roberta. George?
Yeah, a couple questions. Do you, Greg, have a breakdown of what paving activities are? I mean, is it potholes, or are there some sections that are getting a whole length of pavement, or what have we got?
Yeah, we have a list that was put together by Larry and the Planning Commission. Went around to all the streets and did an assessment and put the assessment together. And yes, to answer your question, I believe there are some sections that aren't really potholes, George. They're depressions.
Sure.
For a length of 10, 12
Sure.
feet.
Sure.
It's not considered a pothole, but yeah, that would have to be milled down a little bit and have been filled in. There are potholes, and there's quite a significant number of streets.
So I apologize that I haven't seen that, but is any action on boundaries included in that number?
You know,
I do not recall.
Not paving, graveling and grading.
Uh,
Graveling and grading maintenance.
Yeah, I do not know specifically.
I don't think so.
Recall Boundary Street at all.
I don't think so.
Okay. And have you had, the council passed $1,500 to take a look at Henry Clay subsidence. Have we had any action on that?
Say it again, George.
The council passed $1,500 for professional to evaluate the Henry Clay subsidence. Have we had any action on that front? And is that included in, I take it that's not included.
Henry Clay.
The Henry Clay Street subsidence.
The council passed a motion to hire a structural engineer or something like that.
To examine it.
To examine, to evaluate a collapse, Henry Clay.
I'm not aware of that being on the
Well,
contract.
It's not on the paving contract.
All right. Okay. And
I didn't see any.
I have one last one.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, the storage units that we're looking at getting a new one, would that also be a rental or would that be a purchase?
People were looking to purchase them.
Be purchase outright?
The storage units, yes, would be a purchase, right?
Thank you, that's it.
And
And I didn't see a figure on the dumpsters, so that is, do you have?
Well, the dumpsters are leased from, the dumpsters are a part of your contract that you pay with the waste management company. So I don't think we'd be purchasing that. And I don't think the research is complete.
Okay. So expenditures to be determined.
Yeah.
and these funds, just to clarify, potentially some could come out of beautification, but it will be like for streets, that separate line or general fund.
Well, so the payment of the service to remove the waste comes out of utilities in 440. And also it's spread across various departments, the lion's share being taken by the town because it has to do with the connection with the tourism and that the park removed all of their waste receptacles. So that service is spread across utilities. To set up a new area that would be fenced in and such, that would come out of some town hall capital expense probably. Yeah.
Anything else on this?
What's this coming out of? What's O coming out of?
O is very complicated.
Is it
Not in
number
and of it,
funds?
numerous funds. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
God.
Mhm,
I
yeah.
need-
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Ladies,
No,
when you're next, come this way, I will.
Okay, next we have,
Down here? Yeah.
we have Susan Benzinger representing the Women's Club of Harper's Ferry. Susan, I'll tell you what I'm going to tell every presenter is that we're here to listen to the need, what your need is. We are not here to debate whether you need it or not. That's not our job. You know what your needs are. Basically, we're here to listen, and we're not going to be making any decisions today. We will do that later. We will then get together as a council and start making some decisions based basically on our funding assets that we have available. So that's how this works. I appreciate you taking the time to come in and represent the Women's Club, and I want this to be informal. So just if they have any clarifying questions, we'll open it up with Storm and Debbie and George and Chris, and I have Roberta and Perry online. So Susan, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I am here on behalf of the Women's Club. We have a clubhouse, and probably everyone has seen it, at 856 Washington Street. Just a little bit about the house. It was an armory building. I'm still trying to figure out what that really is. They're owned by the federal government because I'm sure they didn't have shells in there. Other people. It's currently a contributing structure in the town of Harper's Ferry. In 1927, which I realized this morning, almost 100 years ago, the club bought the house. They bought it from Louise Brackett, who was the widow of N.C. Brackett, the founder and president of Stewart College. Since then, we've used the house for many things. We do fundraising there. We have community programs, educational programs, social activities. We let the folks use it when they were redoing the children's park across the street. We let them use it a place to get out of the heat now and then. We raise money during the year, and we do need some for expenses and reserves, but the rest goes to scholarships and donations. So we give out $1,000 scholarship every year to a college student. And the rest is, we gave out $3,400 last year, the rest go to area charities. We're a charity, but we also do the charities, so like the elementary school libraries, and I forgot, it was a cause for cause. The Blue Ridge Food Pantry, for disclosure, I run the Blue Ridge Food Pantry, but I don't vote on that. That's a different deal, so it's outstanding. Meals on Wheels, just various groups. That's the most we have given out. We also do put money in reserve because we know from time to time we have to fix things. The town has helped us with grants in the past for overhanging dangerous trees, painting our roof so that it survives. And then last year, helping us with our electrical system, which is like as old as Thomas Edison, if it was still here. So this year, looking around, we have been looking at the posts that hold up half of the building. And unless you go off the street, you wouldn't necessarily know that the uphill piece of the building, I don't know if that's a third or a half. It's actually on, it turns out, iron posts outside, so there's air underneath it. But the basement's under the rest of the house, not that piece. And it turns out between just the air, time, we've had some flooding from the street that comes down along there. Those posts have rotted out. They've rusted and the bottoms, of course, rotted out. We did have and at the same time, inside the house, we're getting cracks along where the ceiling and the wall meet over that area, and a huge crack down at the floor, where it looks like if you were connecting two pieces. So that is a problem. So we did have an engineering firm come in and look at it and say, what do we need to do about this? We don't want the house to fall over. And basically, those posts are too far apart. They're rusted at the bottom, and they have no footers, which is obviously a big problem, particularly with hard wind, snow, all of that. So we talked to them and said, what is it that we need to do? And basically, we need to put additional brand new posts on footers to hold the house up. They also, when doing that, may be able to raise the building up 3/4 of an inch, but they'll have to see, because we can look at the cracks. And sometimes, we look too far. It makes more of a problem. So that's what we have hired them to do. Basically, they'll be 6 foot apart. Right now they're 8. They're going to install these huge footers. They're 24 by 24 by 36 inches deep. They'll have gravel for drainage, then the concrete, then a special pad they put in. Then they connect these jacks that they look like holes, but they're jacks, and they can be adjusted every year as you need them. And then they backfill over that so it won't be an eyesore. You won't see that. That's basically it. We're asking for your support to support it. That's what we're down to. On the last page of what we sent you is the cost, which is staggering. It's $86.81 all told for them to come and do all of that. They did advise us to not have a group stand on that side of the building so they can get to us. So we moved our tables and everything to the other side of the building. So we took that to mean that really is critical now to get them done. What we did to pay for this, because we've already contracted to get on the schedule sooner than later, is we cashed out our reserve fund completely, and then we still had to dig into our operating account to pay for this, because we don't normally have balances that big. So we're asking for $5,000 from the town, and then we would pay the other $36.81, but we're gonna pay the whole thing. But we would then put that $5,000 back in the reserve because it is an old house, and we know, you know, the next thing, what we actually were gonna do this year was replace the heaters, because they're kind of awkward. But this is far more important, you don't wanna replace the heaters, the building's gonna fall down. So,
I got two points if you're finished, Susan, just a clarification. So the engineer tells you not to have people sit there,
not a bunch.
and that's, found that interesting because I sat there during the Christmas party, and I was wondering why I was the only one sitting there. The other thing is there any evidence on the inside that it has settled down, anything?
Yeah, the front wall of the house that's on the street, where it connects to the ceiling, that has all started cracking, and you can see it's coming. The closer you go to the post, so the further up, the bigger the space is between the ceiling and the wall, so there's like, it's that, like the wedge shape. And then the big crack running downward. I don't know if the piece that's falling down was porch. I don't know how that was originally built, but there's a beam or the board that runs between the partition, and the rest of the house has cracked. And it goes down just a little bit. And we did ask, do we need to put emergency supports so we can get to it? And the feeling was no, but don't like have a party with 100 people in there. And move the tables, which we did as soon as the fellow left. We moved the tables. Actually, my husband was there. We told him we should move. Well, it's right. At least not the house. So, yeah. So there is evidence of that. And he said, you know, we could try to raise it. The most we could possibly raise it back is 3/4 of an inch. And by his estimation, it's an inch and a half.
Sure.
Yeah, so the Women's Club is asking for a large portion of the project to be covered by the town. In this assessment, is once repair has been affected, will this effectively stabilize it? Is this a one and done? Did the engineer see other things that are coming down the road for the structure?
It's a one and done for that chunk of the building. We did look around a little, and we are gonna have him back to look at the foundation for the rest of the house. So I can't tell you, my guess is it's gonna need some work, but that is concrete block as opposed to a rusty post at this moment.
Okay.
So, and that's gonna work. And there's nothing inside that screams out to you other than it's an old house.
Is the work scheduled yet?
Well, he scheduled us for the beginning of July, but it depends on how fast they're done with the people before us and our permitting. We try to explain to them they don't have to get in the queue at Jefferson County.
Yes.
And they're finding that hard to believe, which I understand. They don't want to get sued later. So they're going to toddle over there and apply. And I'm assuming the county will say no. So then they could come sooner. Originally, didn't they say, I like May? They thought May, but then because of permits, that pushes it back, and we told them, so worst case, the beginning of July.
You mentioned cracking. You're talking about wood board cracking, or you're talking about plastic cracking?
It's plastic.
Okay.
But it does look, as I say, it looks like, you know, the space between the cracks and the ceiling are very tiny here, but as you get further out, there's like space. It's just like that wall that's going down, but the ceiling somehow. I think we have to put together.
Sure.
So the total cost of the whole project is $86.81, and you said that some has already been paid to them, or
We
is
paid them
all
a deposit.
a deposit?
And
Okay.
we do have enough between taking all of our reserve account and a piece of our operating account to pay them.
Mhm.
Because the final payment's due when they're finished.
When they're finished. Okay. So two process points. One is when you are ready to execute the rest of the contract, it is important to come back to Budget and Finance and let them know that you're ready to go. You'll be receiving, after the process is complete with the budget towards the end of April, acknowledgement of provisional funding that's allocated to this. But it's still important to come back and say, look, we're ready to go. We've refined all of our information. This is really what we need. And then that does go to council for final approval. It's also very important that any work that you're doing with a contractor, that contractor has a business license in the town of Harpers Ferry. We cannot reimburse. Okay.
I know he has a West Virginia one.
He needs a Harpers Ferry license, yeah.
Which is easy to get in.
Especially if he has a West Virginia one already, yeah. Mhm, yeah.
And Deb, would this be 906 historic preservation?
This would be historic preservation, yep.
Any other questions? Roberta, you have any questions?
I have one question. Because it's stabilization, have you approached SHPO for a grant?
SHPO?
Yes.
SHPO is the state historic.
Preservation Office in Charleston. It's part of the West Virginia governing body.
In fact, I can get your phone number, somebody, before you leave.
Yes, that would be great. I think maybe because it's stabilization, those are some of the first grants they hand out. So you might be able to get something from them.
We will check them out.
They have a tight deadline, so the deadline might even be in March. So I would check that out as soon as you could.
Okay. Will do.
Anything else, council? All right, Susan, the process will be, we will be meeting next week to come up with some recommendations for funding for the town council to deliberate and decide on. And again, you know, all of our decisions will be based on what monies we have available. We don't have deep pockets, but we have pockets.
And Susan, Roberta's idea about SHPO is really, really good. And you got a grant, you'd be partnering with our historic landmarks. And if they ask you, tell you that you've spoken to a member of Historic Landmarks Commission, that's me, okay, about this. So it would take a step out.
So this lady is a good starting point. She may not end up being your ultimate contact, but she'll be able to direct you where the right step.
Okay,
She's
thank
very
you,
nice.
council. Thank you, Susan.
And they may be able to support you for even more ongoing stuff too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
That would be great.
Yeah.
they dropped, I think, $17,000 on the Weaver House.
Great, thank you so much.
Thanks, Susan.
Give or take.
Okay. So the next appointment is at 10, unless Sarah's not here, yeah. So if anybody needs a breather for a minute, I'm gonna go scan and send a document.
Hello.
Hi.
Sarah. Hi, how are you? Good. Let's see. Let me just finish this one thing and then we'll get This is what I have. This is questions. We're gonna have it sit over here at the table.
Okay.
Give me a microphone.
Oh, right now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm
Might
sorry.
as well get comfortable. No, you're
I just,
fine.
I know I'm a little early.
That's okay.
Do you earlier because well?
If you're gonna be participating, absolutely. Yeah.
Pretty easy. Both have the same name.
Oh, that makes me put these on your shirts. That helps us pick up your voice for
The virtual.
Okay.
And we'll just wait till George comes back before we start. That'll be good. You're fine. Perfect. Yep.
cool.
All right, just give us a minute till George comes back.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And this is Sarah and Sarah.
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
It's a very common library name.
Sarah's-
Call any
Sarah's-
library. There's at least one of us. But actually, yes, Sarah's the assistant director at the
Great.
library.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, I love the graphic for the festival.
Okay, I want to go ahead and get started. We have the Sarah and Sarah show from the library.
Which one's Sarah?
Both of us.
So I want to welcome both of you in here. We have 6 out of 7 council members. There's 5 out of 7. There's 4 of us in here. We have Chris Craig, George Owens, Storm DeCasenzo, Greg Vaughn, and then on the line we have Roberta McCurry. Okay? And our job this morning is basically to listen to the both of you regarding the needs that you projected for the library. Our job this morning is not to interrogate you or any of that stuff. We're not going to be questioning your needs. You know your needs better than we do. We're just going to sit and listen. And then there'll be a period next week sometime, I forget the exact date, that we will be getting together as the governing body of Harpers Ferry to make a determination on how many, Debbie, did we receive?
22.
22 community requests. And we do not have an unlimited budget in the town, but we do have monies that we like to support community needs. And we will be making that determination next week based on what we hear and what your need is, and we'll sit around and discuss that and and see where we come out. Again, we're not here to question or second guess what your need is. You know it better than us. So keep this as informal as we can. If there's any clarifying questions that any member of the council have, they will have the opportunity to do that. Debbie is the town's finance officer, chief finance officer, and we have two members of the town's budget and finance committee, which are heavily involved in that, and that is Storm and Chris. So anyway, I don't know which Sarah wants to go ahead and take it, but.
I'll go ahead. So
Go
my
ahead.
name's Sarah Curley. I am the director of the Harpers Ferry Library. So basically, when it comes to our needs, you know, it's kind of the same as it's always been since 1977, and that our need is to serve the community. You know, I always write a little something, but would you prefer me just to kind of like say what we do and as the needs instead of like a spiel? Because I really think the needs of a library is very similar to the services of a town. I think that there's a lot of similarities. We are trying to establish roots and community bonds to collaborate with businesses, local vendors. I mean, thanks to your support, we've been able to increase our programs and services and to have things that go for all ages. I think we have I've been speaking to other directors in the area, and they say that they are very envious of all the adult programs that we have, and we get very good feedback for what we do, because we've had glass making programs. Both the kids and adults have worked with the Washington Street Studios. We've had local florists come in. We've had musicians, and with that, we're hoping to also get kind of like a color theory, so people can know their seasons, which is really in right now. I don't know if you guys are into what season you are, but, but anyway, so aside from just all the books and the resources that we try to provide, we also really work on services. And one project that we are trying to do, which isn't in the budget request, but just so you know, because as you are aware, we do work with a very limited budget, including with salaries and everything. We work with less than $250,000 a year to provide all that we provide for our library and for the town and for the state of West Virginia. Even though we are one story, we also use a lot of e-resources now to increase services. So that includes e-books, e-audiobooks, and streaming platforms such as Canopy. I highly recommend Canopy. I think it's also a great way for people that have a tighter budget to be able to use and have their money spent where they need it in the library, and the library be a place to kind of make that buffer. Increase of homeschool resources have been added to the educational resource area. We've added that to the library to the response to the increased need of homeschool families, but these are services for all kids. We still have a children's librarian. She goes to the public schools and does story time every other week. So we've had programs even with All Over Bread. So our need is really to continue and provide support for the community for 365 days a year, every year. We want to be a place of service for everyone. I think a lot of times some libraries focus on kids, and I think that's really important, and we do want to focus on kids, but our community is made up of more than kids. We're also made up of adults, and that's why we've been increasing our adult programs and services. And it goes beyond book clubs, which is a potluck, and it's very tasty. So, so that's kind of the general gist. That's nothing that I wrote here, because you guys are discussing needs and services, and that's what we have. Does anyone have any questions?
Just under so there's the operational part and then the programs.
Yes.
I wasn't sure, is there a specific ask? Is it the total amount that you're asking for all of those programs together?
There is a total amount. It's $7,122 in regards to the programs. Now, this does not include all the programs that we provide. This is programs that are focused for arts and humanities funding requests. So there's a lot of things that we wanted. The staff is very creative in doing a lot of programs for a very small amount of money, but there are things that people have been asking for that we love to provide that just cost more than our budget can handle. And so though we have a budget for programs, this would be separate from that to increase our program services.
Got it. So there's programming happening and this funding would directly enable these particular programs.
This is what enhanced programming.
So I think it's split into two asks, right?
Yeah.
One is our
Right.
operational
Yes,
ask, and then one is the.
And the operational ask is more to help facilitate the costs of our operating budget.
yes.
So that includes the books, that includes, our Canopy streaming service has really gotten more and more popular, which has increased our price. A single ebook costs over $100 oftentimes as audiobook. It's way more expensive to buy an e-resource than it is to buy a physical copy, but it's also getting higher and higher demand. And with the limited space we have, we've also had to be in response to our own limitations of a physical library.
And that's the $5,000 is the
That's the
operations.
$5,000. If you want me to say where it can honestly be broken up in so many places because it doesn't take very long for $5,000 to go in the
Yes.
library.
Yeah, we're just getting, for
Yeah.
everybody to have an
No,
understanding of the different things that
Yeah.
that library does and how they're funded.
Yes, so we still have the hotspot services, and that itself costs $2,160 a year for us to provide, but it's really helpful too for people to have hotspots for them with their travels, and also if they lost internet service, or if they don't have internet for a time period. It seems to be a good service for people, so we've kept that up.
So to clarify, $5,000 for operational, and then $7,100 for programs, but those are in addition to other programs you're talking about.
Yes,
So those are for programs that you're not currently offering, but wish to offer, or?
so some of these programs we have offered in the past, thanks
Right.
to the support from the Harpers Ferry Arts and Humanities funding, we've been able to offer the services. We don't have the budget to do pottery classes, but I will say the pottery class fills up in less than 30 minutes for that. And then we have a wait list of sometimes, 15, 20 people for it. And
So we have been able to offer that before, but only through the
Yes.
humanities and art funding
So,
that
so,
you provided.
so
in
the
the
7,100 is for programs that you wish to offer and
yes,
that you're not offering currently.
I think they're saying in this coming fiscal year, they wish to offer them. Some have been offered in previous
In
years.
previous years,
Yes.
right?
yes,
Some have that.
yes,
Right.
thanks to the funding through Harpers Ferry.
And
Okay.
clarification though, on that form for the 7122, I see only 4,500 requested from Harper's Ferry, and then,
No,
Yeah.
that was how much you gave us last year.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
That's how much,
Okay.
you approved, I believe.
Okay,
last
that's,
year.
I was wondering about that as
okay,
well.
so you're requesting.
And is that the
addition.
same notation for on the other form, the 240,000 altogether, it looks like to me, is that funding that you received in fiscal 24 as well?
In regards to 24, I think you gave us 4,500.
No. What I'm asking is on the form where you asked for the 5,000 for operational, you have listed other financial support and resources. That
Yes,
all totals up to about 240,000 roughly.
yes, ma'am.
Is that in past years not committed for this coming year?
So State Grant Aid is committed,
Okay,
the Board of Education is committed, Jefferson County Commission, I mean, we have to request it, they haven't
Okay.
not given us money,
Okay.
and then the town of Bolivar also
Okay.
owes us money. because
So
we
these
do
are-
have a charter with you and Harper and Bolivar.
all right, so on this form, these are things that you anticipate getting to support?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
and these are all, yeah, so this is anticipation as well as past funding sources. State Grant Aid is set for a lottery fund through the state,
Mm.
and that's through based off the population, so in the census from 2020, those are the numbers that we got.
Okay.
For, I think, $5.65 per person.
And I think, is it correct to ask for Bolivar for programming is 4,500?
No, that is for operating budget. I just found out this year that they also have an arts and humanities funding source, so actually we are gonna be requesting funding from them as well for different programs.
Okay.
So it's not like, we're not just attacking you.
Well, you're not just serving us.
Right, that's right,
No, not
that's
at
right.
all. Honestly, if I can get the town of Ransom to, you know.
Sure. We'll put in a good word.
Thank you.
So the, just a process, points of clarification, the annual disbursement for general operations, we typically take care of handling that around April, May, and distributing it
Yes.
out towards the end of the year. So that's one piece. The other side, we generally operate in a reimbursement status where you
Yes.
provide the funding to the vendor and then you ask us for that.
I have the forms, I need to
Okay.
submit them to you.
Okay, so also just want to say, if you go back and just, if you need a review, or you can always ask us, but it is also in the documents that would have come out requesting your presence today, is that when you're ready and you know that that's the schedule you want, and we will have given you a provisional amount that we will, the town will support you with towards the end of April, when you're ready to start scheduling those items, you should come back in to budget and finance and say, this is how we want to use that money that you said you could give
Oh,
us.
okay.
You have been working from an old cycle, of old process,
Yeah.
which is not a problem. I mean, it works out, but it is important that you take that step once you're solid with the money that we've said we can give you, that you
Okay.
come back and just say, okay, with that, we want to do X, Y, and Z. And then we take that as a final blessing to council, and then the reimbursement happens after that.
Okay, so do you need that like every time we do a new programming, or is it just
Well-
like I come up to you and be like, for this year, like you want us to plan these programs in a year in advance? Is that how you?
So I think that if you, ideally, you have a lot going on there with all of those different programs. I think it would be onerous to say for every single one, you come once a month and say, I want to do this one next month. That's kind of onerous, I think. So especially since you're an external organization, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would say that, let's say council comes back and says, well, we'll give you $5,000. So then you come to us as your year approaches and you're going to start contracting with these folks and say, okay, with that $5,000, these are the ones that we want to contract.
Okay,
And then that will be finally okay. And then we move forward from there.
okay, I will
Okay.
do that.
That
I'm
would
sorry for
draw a
any.
straight line between
Yeah.
the funding.
Yeah.
It's fine. You were working off of kind of an old process, and it's just been updated a little bit in previous.
I will adapt.
Yeah.
In a way, the budgeted amount that we give you will enable you to do your planning
Right.
within the additional documentation as it happens.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
and,
Write the
yes.
checks.
okay, that sounds great.
Your total request is 12-1, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall what your total request was last year?
Actually, it was more last year.
Okay.
I asked for 8,000, I have it right here, actually. I think it was 8,360 something, but let me. Oh, no, wait, 8,592 for funding for arts and humanities last year, along with a $4,500 request for the, yeah,
General.
for general.
Debbie, do you have what we allocated last year?
It was-
Go ahead.
I think it was $4,500 that you
Yes.
allocated for
Mhm.
both the operating as well as arts and
No,
humanities.
no. Arts and humanities was 4,500. The 5,000 is still set for the library. It doesn't come out of arts and humanities.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got it wrong.
And I think that was 5,000. I'm not.
I thought it was 4,500 for some reason. I'm
Well,
sorry.
4,500 I have for the library, and it might be
Yeah.
4,500 for the operating.
Yeah, I thought it was 4,500 for operating, and I thought it was like 46 or something like that for, yeah. So we've
Well,
adjusted our
well,
programs.
Double check. I can,
Yeah.
since we seem to be a little bit, not in sync on that, I'll just double check it. But the record I have here is 4,500 for
I
your
have the number in
programs.
the end in my
Okay.
files. I
Okay.
just don't have the exact like last 3 digits.
Gotcha.
Do you service any other municipalities besides Ruckersbury and Malone?
Yes, we service actually the state of West Virginia. Anyone who wants to come in to get a library card just needs to be in the West Virginia state, just be a resident of the state of West Virginia. We service Jefferson County, mainly due to the fact that we are a public library in Jefferson County. So we do service areas such as Ransom, Charlestown, Shepherdstown. A lot of patrons also, so one library card, if you get, like, even though we're our own library, we work with a 3-county system. So if you are a Martinsburg patron, a Martinsburg library card, you can technically use that library card to use our library. But for the same thing, Harper's Ferry patrons can also go to Martinsburg and use their services. Now, some services are only available on site, depending on what is provided. and for things, for example, like Canopy streaming service or our hotspots, you have to be a Harpers Ferry patron to utilize those services. But yes, we do try to service the community, because that's,
Well, the reason I asked that, so you have not obviously, or maybe you have reached out to Branson or Charlestown or Shepherdstown for consideration for funding?
so I haven't reached out to Charlestown or Branson. They do provide money to the Charlestown Library, which is a private library, but I do know they give them money. I have no problem asking them for money, but I don't know what the reception would be, given the fact that they do give money to their closest local library. As well as there's a Summit Point Library that's right around the street too. They don't have a town. To be honest, I'd rather them get the money from Charlestown or Summit Point, just because they don't have town money, so their budget is even more restrained than ours, due to the fact that they don't have a town to benefit them.
But they do get a major chunk of the money from the county.
Yeah, the county commission, yeah. And the Board of Education.
Yeah, with everything that yes.
All right, council, any other questions?
This is a budget for a full year though, just to, we really do try to do what we can to provide wonderful services and have a great staff to be amenable and accommodating for everyone.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And is Maggie Rump still our
Yes, Maddie is still a board member.
representative?
Yeah, we have a great board.
We've got a very
Yeah.
Thank you guys for
Thank
your
you so
time
much.
and your
Hey,
support.
thanks for coming by.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
The Sarahs.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it easy.
For everybody.
And
Oh.
usually we look at the
Yeah.
prior year and pattern spend as part of the deliberative meeting.
Thank you so much.
And actually, one of their figures was lower and one higher.
Good.
It's about a watt.
Debbie,
And much to the deliberative part.
Right, but I'm just,
Debbie,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna be signing off, okay, because I'm gonna go head to the train and get on the train. So, if I can pick back up before you break for lunch, otherwise I will be back at lunch. Is that okay?
Okay, sounds good. I'll try to watch the
Bye-bye.
attendee screen for you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so we have Mr. Paul Tortel, did I say it right? With the Appalachian Chamber Music Festival.
Well, first I want to thank you because
Sorry.
we started in 2021. In the middle of COVID, we got some funding to help us out. It's continuing. It's really been invaluable to us. And just as a background, because that's non-federal money, it allows us to meet the match for other grants. So it really amplifies what we're able to do. This will be our 5th anniversary, so we're trying to make a big splash for this summer festival. We'll have 2 concerts in Harpersville. One's going to be a free concert outside of Matthews Lawn, and that's going to, theme of that concert is going to be celebrating Don Redmond, and we'll be with the Howard Burns Jazz Ensemble, Frederick County, and then Appalachian Chamber Music Festival, and a special arrangement of John Redmond's work for strings. And then we're also doing that in partnership with the Park Service and the Harpersville Park Association. It's helping us. So that's our concert. That's the free concert. Then we'll also do a pop-up mini concert downtown, which will be a work called Appalachian that celebrates the legacy of John Brown, and that was an inaugural season commission. That would be a great group. And then the concert that we're not asking for any funding for, because we think we can have that covered with funding from the West Virginia Department of Arts and Cultural History and ticket sales would be the Camp Hill. So that would be, I don't know the exact ticket price, but that would be a ticket in that. We think we have that covered. The cost that we're asking for this year is $29.75, which is an estimate based on last year, which is $2,800 in cost. And we're gonna have some additional costs for getting the music arranged, done revenue for arranged for string player. So the concert itself would be Howard Burns. There'll be collaboration between the classical string players and the jazz ensemble. It's kind of delved into that, and probably our concert with associated lectures talk with the park service.
Okay, so it sounds like you're asking for funding for the free concert that would be open to all. That would be up on the Storer campus. And as far as specifically where those funds are going, I know in prior years it had been tied to, I think, musicians.
Probably musician costs, we'll look at it, event insurance, which is usually about $130 that protects everyone. A little bit to, still be mainly musicians, so the arrangement.
Okay, so maybe.
Yeah, event assurance is probably not one that we typically cover, particularly if it's event assurance on our own property. But as you proceed through the process, which you all have done a great job of, and it's a time sensitive thing because you're happening in August and our fiscal year turns in July, and you generally come along in May or June and say, okay, we're ready to roll. So we need you to do that again, as you have. And in that moment, if you could delineate exactly what you would be using the $29.75 for, then that allows us to build a document that we can take to council for final approval.
Okay. And we're in the process now of completing the contract. So you need that information in June.
If you're
specifics.
if you're gonna let's see, August is your concert, and then you'll want reimbursement shortly thereafter. So that needs to be approved in July at the council meeting. So you're gonna want to come to budget and finance in May or June. Okay. And just provide the detail about what it is that you're specifically requesting, and if you're able to come or attend virtually, that's a good idea. Yeah.
And just to confirm or clarify, so you list the other funding sources. Is that for this concert that you're asking us to contribute, or is that funding sources for the program?
That's for this concert.
Okay, great. And are there also funds coming directly from fundraising from the Chamber Music Festival that will be going towards it as well?
Well, hopefully we're lucky if we break even for that, so we're trying to not take too many funds because it puts us involved. But we'll make up. We're going to do the concert, and I think we have a small reserve now. Maybe it's $25,000 to $3,000, and we'll pull from that. I mean, to us, this is a showcase of that, and the partners are great, so we're going to make it happen, even if we draw big.
Thank you.
I just got a question. So I understand this. The August 8th concert is a free concert,
Yes.
and that is on the lawn at Mather, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And the August 9th concert, and that's fee-based?
I'm sorry, it's a.
You sell tickets for it.
That's a week later is the August, I think it's August 13th. That's a fee, that's a ticketed event, I can't go.
And where's that one being held?
I can't go.
Camp Hill Church.
Camp Hill Church, so we're not, we think we have that covered with grants and tickets.
Right, so you're only
Okay.
So we're only asking for the free concert.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So the outside Armory building, Debbie, what
Yeah,
is that?
so the August 9th event outside the Armory building, what is that one?
Yeah, that I'm sorry, that That's more for information, because we think we'll have the cost, but that's something else that's being done in cooperation with Parks.
Right.
So I may not have been clear, that's just for,
So you're bringing other events to Harper's Ferry, but the only one you're asking funds for is
it's the
big
concert, evening concert.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's
All right.
the matter alone.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, Council? Thank you,
Right,
Paul.
thanks a lot.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. Oh, thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. All right, we are doing well. I think, let's see, that would have been 10, 10, 20, 10:40. So we do not expect our next one till 10:40. So we can slide another one in, my friend. Snow removal? Snow removal? Snow removal is going to be item number T. The mayor will speak to that now.
Yeah, okay, so the snow removal. This year, we allocated how much, Debbie, for,
Well, we start with, I don't know, you put me on the spot here. We started with, I think, 20, maybe 30,000, and we had to increase it by 30,000. So, and those are rough numbers.
we are spending an incredible amount of money so far this year in snow, and a lot of those monies are coming in on pre-treating, which is a necessary item for snow. It doesn't keep the snow from accumulating on the street. What it does is the scrapers and the plows and the shovels go by, they get all the way down, they're able to get all the way down to the surface, because the pre-treatment keeps the snow that's accumulating from actually getting into the crevices of the roadwork and sidewalks, where it actually freezes and plows and shovels just glide over the top. So we are spending a lot of money pre-treating. So the idea is to consider that we, being Harper's Ferry, we assume that fee ourselves, which would require purchasing a piece of equipment to go on the back of either our small dump truck, or they even have them mounted on the back of pickup trucks. And we've all seen them going through where they spread the pellets out. This is not going to take the form that the state uses. They use liquid brine on the streets. That's the lines that you see going down on 340. We don't do that. I contacted the state of West Virginia again for the second or third time as to why they do not come through Harper's Ferry anymore, and they haven't been coming through here for several years, and that's because they are on 81 and 340 and other principal roads, and they do not consider Washington Street a principal road for them to come through and lay the brine down. We are at the bottom of the list, so that means we assume that responsibility from the state highway. So the idea is that we consider the idea of purchasing for our use a truck-mounted salt spreader to do the pre-treating ourselves. Pre-treating the sidewalks, that's a lot easier than the streets. They have a special, like a spreader that you spread fertilizer for, and it spits it out. We certainly can go in that route too, but this is principally on the streets where it's costing us a considerable amount of money. So that was the idea, thrown around, speaking with John Brown and Larry and others on this. To me, it makes sense to at least look at the feasibility of doing this. Other municipalities do it. Shepherdstown has a huge maintenance department and huge trucks that they have. They keep thousands and thousands of pounds of salt in a covered area, ready for them to do it. We certainly don't have the capability to do that, but this is a step forward. And that's the reason it's on there.
Question. Where would we keep the salt?
Well, they would be in battery storage because we would have no capability to have the front end loader. I mean, it would be nice if we had a place. And we see these all over. The state has them, they're like igloos. And that's where they store their salt.
And I have the same general question, which is, has it been penciled out to look at delivering the service from the town itself, what all the costs would be? Like, sure, like having the ability to spread it, but to store it, to purchase it, also we purchase, the town council specified the eco-friendly salt, can we get that? If it's not the liquid pre-treatment.
Yeah.
Like, do we know what the full cost is, and will it end up just being what we're paying?
Yeah, I mean, this is the initial step. We've contacted some of our local, contacted Shepherdstown and a couple other areas to see if they would serve as a vendor for our salt. In other words, we would pull the truck up and they have a machine that loads the back. Instead of we throwing, 25, 40-pound bags of salt in the back of the pickup truck, there's somebody up there cutting the top and pouring it in the hopper. If that's what that we'll end up with, then I say we just stay with what we have. There's got to be another way to do it, not manually to load the hopper, either on the back of the pickup truck or the dump truck. Now, they do have some salt spreaders that are done on a hitch on the back of the truck. So it's the same thing. You've got to get above the hopper area, and that's just called manual.
But do we know what the nearest bin that we could piggyback off
Yeah,
of
it's
is?
not in this county.
It ain't in this county.
Not as much
We
as
couldn't
I can-
piggyback
Yeah,
off
I
Shepherdstown
contacted-
or,
The only one would be Shepherdstown, and they have their own, but they're not. I mean, I talked with their manager over there last week. It just doesn't make any sense for them to be our middleman, what we call our truck over there. I don't think that's feasible, George.
No, sure.
But I certainly can check on that again. So the bugaboo is actually going to get the salt into the machine.
right,
But I felt it was important just to put those on here for, discussion point, because it's not going to get any cheaper.
Do you think there would be any interest from Bolivar in sharing this and working with?
I don't know. I didn't approach Steve with that. They use the same service that we do
Yeah.
with their streets. I do not know if Bolivar treats the sidewalks like we do. But, I certainly can contact Steve.
it'd be a good idea, because they got a great big brand new sidewalk. And there's a lot of school kids who walk along it.
Yeah, more room to put salt.
More room to put salt. The question is, slipped out, sorry.
One, while you're thinking, I know it's yelling at the moon, but as Washington Street is supposed to be the state's, if the state's responsibility, if there's any way that they could give a grant or some block funding in order to make this possible.
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
what's
Then it has
salt
a
cost
comment.
us? I mean, the question was, what is the salt costing us now?
That makes sense.
I don't know it off the top
Wow.
of my head. It's a moving target.
Yeah.
I was going to address that in that, we have increased our budget line item for snow. That is not abnormal. That is normal in a year where we get a lot of snow.
Yeah.
We have not budgeted for the most that I have experienced in the last 8 years. And in those previous years to this administration, that did not include the salting of the sidewalks as at the pace that we're doing now. And it did not include the high-end salt. So it is really important once we finish this season that we take a look at what we are spending on it as a portion of the whole bill and whether it makes sense or not. And you know, the bills are coming, and well, I just got one, and it's all salting, so I just can't tell you. I have to look at all the bills and break them out, which certainly we need to do. And you said something about our dump truck. Are you talking about the water dump truck?
Yes.
Okay, so this would not go on our town maintenance truck?
Yeah, there's two types. There's one that would go on the back of a dump truck, which is a much larger unit.
Mhm.
And then there's one that's reflected in this 7K here that would go on the back of a standard pickup truck like we have out here.
Okay, so this one is for
The one
the,
that Shepherdstown used, they used a large unit on the back of their dump trucks.
So this is a tow along that would be hitched to a heavy pickup.
Yeah.
okay,
They don't have to fill it so many times. And they just pull right in, fill that big machine up compared to the pickup. I saw the pickup truck the other day, yesterday, on small streets where I was. It does the job. Anyway, it's food for thought. I think that we should, in the spirit of doing things a little bit better and more efficient, at least take a look at something like this.
Got it. But right now, we know the expense of the unit we distribute, but the other things need to be penciled out.
Yeah, and Debbie makes a good point. You know, last year, if my memory's correct, we budgeted X amount of snow and we had two inch storms. And we came out way ahead. Didn't we
Yep.
reallocate those
Yes, we
monies
did.
to other?
Yes, we did.
Now this year,
It won't be that way.
We got the
And-
snow now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a crapshoot when you get this. You
Yeah.
just don't know.
In a way, it's an item that would be nice if we could build reserves and kind of spread it out over
Yeah.
a 5-10 year plan, especially as the climate changes. I think
Right,
You know,
more extremes.
almost kind of a self-insurance or something.
Well, you have contingency built into your budget, and that kind of thing. I mean, you could specifically allocate it to snow removal, but, as a portion of the whole budget, I mean, unless we get 3, 4-foot storms in a season, I don't think that
Locking
it
up that,
has
yeah.
that much of a, I think I don't know. I get your point, but I'm not sure that the impact on the overall budget is necessarily all that significant over time.
And that's part of why we maintain a certain level of reserve in general, so that extraordinary year for snow, it's not
Right.
a real burden.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Let's not forget too, that it was not too long ago. I think it stopped just before Wayne became mayor, but there was a point for years that Washington Street, the town dropped the blade and plowed it. The state came through on Washington and plowed it.
Yep.
And then when the Park Service left their headquarters, they dropped the blade
Yep.
on Washington. So we had
That's
three contractors, so to speak, on Washington Street alone. Now that's disappeared. We are the only ones. And we are maintaining a state highway, which is a little unusual. I have talked to an official in Charleston about this, and I think I've got this individual's attention. I don't know how far it's going to go. I did contact, like I said, the District 5, which oversees Harpers Ferry roads, and I didn't get anywhere there with him, but there's always somebody at a level above which I've
But one of the deals is that West Virginia, unlike most states, the state owns and controls nearly all of the roads in the state.
West Virginia is the number 2 state in the United States with miles of roads run by the city.
Wow.
There's only one other state, I believe it's California.
Thank you, Senator.
West
That's
Virginia's
interesting.
number 2.
On a good good thought, I've received several unsolicited compliments on our snow removal this year. Comparing it to other towns,
Yeah.
that we're doing a good job.
Well, that's good.
So,
All right, well, we've sort of edged towards deliberation a little
Yes.
bit, but we should probably
Yeah.
pull back.
You're back. Is Henny D, is Ed joining
You know, a
you?
week ago.
Okay, we'll wait a few minutes.
Forecast for 18 inches of snow today. You never know.
All right.
Okay.
Here he comes right now. All right. So we'll put you both over here at the table.
Okay.
Hello, Ed.
Oh, thanks you.
Hi.
Okay,
Long time no see.
so we've just been offered seats.
Yeah.
Full
They give you a
disclosure,
microphone.
I am an officer of this
If
organization.
you get comfortable, and they give you a microphone.
Okay.
You're not what, Mr.?
Full disclosure, I am an officer in this organization.
Okay.
You can still sit here. Listen to her.
Put that on your sweater there and help us pick up your
I
voices.
doubt I'll be sad, but it's what he's.
Okay,
Well, you might need to.
so go ahead and get started with the Harpersburg Ball Historic Town Foundation. And just for your benefits, we are here basically to listen to the two of you, present your needs. We are not here to second guess what your need is. We're not here to do any of that. We're here to listen. No decisions will be made today. That will be taken at a later date. We are just, we will try to get a good feel what your need is. If there's any questions that are asked, they will be for clarification or things they don't quite understand. Debbie, as the finance officer, will be in here if she feels the need for any clarifying questions to come from your end. She'll ask those. And then, like I said, based on the town's resources, we will get together as a body at a future date and then make decisions on allocations. I'm not saying that every one of the 22 presenters will get something. I'm not saying that they won't get something. It's just a matter of matching the need with the monies that the town has available to assist organizations such as the Historic Town Foundation. So with that said, I don't know who wants to start, Ed?
Sure. So, like you said, we're the Historic Town Foundation, and we're a nonprofit that operates in Harpersbury and Bolivar. And one of our keystone projects is the restoration and rehabilitation of First Zion Baptist Church as a community resource. An arts center is our ambition for the building. And it's an expensive undertaking. We have a small community. It's not like if we were in Frederick and we could get thousands of people to chip in. So we need support everywhere we can find it. And largely that has been through grants, but many of the grants that we apply for require matching funds. And that's what we are seeking assistance from the town for. Often we don't know at this point what grants will be awarded because this early first quarter of the year is often when grants are released, and so we are applying for 5 or 6 grants, and we don't know which ones we'll get, but 2 of the grants that we are seeking, the first is through a WISH grant out of Shepherd. And that's for the renovation of the basement space in the church, which we envision to be an exhibit space to tell the history of the Black community that built the church and grew the community. So that would include creating a level basement floor, installing waste lines and framing in for bathrooms, insulation and drywall. We estimate the total project would be $45,000, and we are asking the town for $6,000 to assist on that. The second ask is in the sanctuary space, we need to install or replace the beadboard ceiling that was lost due to 20 years of sitting empty, and bats took residence in the attic and destroyed the ceiling that had been there. So we'd like to replace it and to replaster the damaged walls in the sanctuary. We estimate that project will cost $60,000, and we're requesting $10,000 from the town. We know that historic preservation is one of the acceptable uses for the hotel motel tax, and so we're asking that the town partner with us in the restoration of the church in these two ways.
And do you recall last year what your request was and what your allocation was?
I believe it was 12,000.
12,500.
Okay. Thank you. And
Hang on, that was, yes, fiscal 24, fiscal 25 was 8,500.
Was that allocated then, the 85, or was that the request?
That was the request, and it was what was recommended and approved.
Question, are you using actual beadboard,
yes,
3/4, 3/8?
to be determined. There's a question on whether the sanctuary space will need a sprinkler system. There's a possibility that we could meet fire code by using a fire-resistant particle board, drywall. In which case, if we put that up first and then a thinner beadboard on top of it to get the same appearance, but it wouldn't cost as much.
And is it painted? Will it be painted?
To be determined. I think we're leaning towards stain.
Stained,
Yeah,
okay.
but we haven't had that conversation yet as a board.
Let me speak with you before you leave about that, because I have some experience with that.
Okay.
It's buyer beware, okay, so we'll pass that on. Buyer beware.
Oh, buyer beware.
Okay.
And are both of the grants that you mentioned here, those require matching funds, I'm assuming?
Well, in the case of the Shepherd grant, it would be a fixed amount, but the project would cost more than that fixed amount. So we're asking to help cover the overage. In the case of the State Historic Preservation Office, it does require a 50-50 match.
And so any Harper's Ferry funds would help in that match.
Yeah, there's another granting agency, I wish I could remember the name of it, out of Martinsburg, and it's named after a woman. And part of that grants that they make available, I believe, involve activities like this, where they have several categories.
I think they're under the umbrella of the Eastern.
That's exactly right.
Oh.
Two Rivers Giving Circle.
Oh, okay. Or the community, Eastern
Yeah.
Panhandle Community
Yeah,
Foundation?
Eastern
Yeah.
Panhandle.
Yeah, they're typically smaller, like in the ballpark of $2,000, and we have gotten their support in the past.
You're right, it's generally 2-3 grand at most. Okay. Any other questions, Council? George?
If there's no other questions, I'll just remind you of the process, which is that towards the end of April, first part of May, you'll receive notification about provisional funding that has been applied to the fiscal 26 budget for your projects. We ask that you come back to Budget and Finance to present what it is that you will move forward with, that you intend to move forward with, so that then that can be taken to council and finally approved. So as you approach the project, come back to us and say, okay, we're ready to go, and yes, we need this money, and you allocated it to us, and this is what we want to ask for. and then we get that going, and then we take care of the checks through reimbursement on the backside.
Would you advise for, often when we get to that step, we have to get a solid estimate from a contractor, but then if we have to wait, 2 or 3 months for it to cycle through, they're often off on some other.
Oh, on some other project.
Yeah. We can't get them back, so.
Well,
Is it appropriate to come forward even if we don't have a solid estimate at that point, a concrete estimate?
well, I mean, I think that the amount of money that has been allocated, if you feel that it will fall within that estimate, and, well, help me out here. I'm kind of perplexed about what he's saying. So he's saying, in order to contract with somebody, he may not necessarily have a full solid number. And then once you get them in the door, then that becomes more solid, or aren't they going to come and look at the work and give you an estimate, or is it?
They will, but often it's like, we can do this in the next 6 weeks. We have a window of opportunity, but then they move on to some other project and it may not be available anymore. So
I see. Well, I mean, in advance of that 6 weeks, I mean, we can generally get it up to council, particularly in certainly in 2 months. 6 weeks, we should be able to do it, but it depends on the 6 weeks.
Right.
So budget and finance meets the last Monday of every month. And then, of course, council meets the second Monday of the following month. And we try to stick them together there so we can piggyback right into there. So if you can hit that cycle tight, that would work out, right? I think that would be the tightest way to do it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
That's it. Off the record here. Bead board. Town's not gonna regulate because it's inside. All wood dries, okay, even after its official drying period, you get it. The problem with bead board, and I had the unfortunate experience with, is that it comes in 6-inch wide increments, and there's a groove, and then a mark, and then a chunk. Okay. After it's installed, certain types during the heating season, it shrinks. And I've read there's a lot of online things trying to have to deal with this. Problem is it cracks and noticeably. And I just for the second time I got it in a room as wainscoting. Looks wonderful. It's great. It's authentic. But the second time now, I've had to go back and caulk it, and then paint, then prime, and paint on top. Furthermore, the real stuff bleeds. The knots bleed out, and on my 6th coat of paint to block the bleeds. There's some new stuff out by Kills called Kills Restoration. It's supposed to help, but if I had to pay somebody over a large area to deal with this, it's going to drive you guys up the wall. A number of people, the Bushers, for example, have gotten around this by the fake bead board, and I know that's
What's it called? Fake?
well,
It's like a piece of plywood that's been glued.
it's bruised.
So he said fake.
I said fake. I
Okay.
said I could be nice and say faux. Okay.
Okay, well, I got it though.
But and nobody likes that idea. But if properly installed and you use good material, it can do away with that. But even the professionals don't have good advice about how to prevent the cracking and bleeding on the real thing.
We had that in our bathroom where the years of paint had been applied and there were cracks between the boards.
Yeah.
And it didn't look so great. And we did a ceiling stain bead board, and we stained it before it went up, and it's held up.
And the stain
a lot better.
isn't a problem because it doesn't crack.
Right.
And the bleed looks just like natural wood. And that's what I was going to say. If you can go avoid painting it, then you do away with that. On the other hand, the real bead board ain't cheap. versus the sheet, which is obviously less expensive.
Yeah, because it's such a huge expanse, I don't think it would look great.
The sheet would probably look horrible. And so, yeah, but you paint it and you have to repair the cracks every 2 years. God help you.
Yep.
Which is an interesting thought for a church. You may want to reconsecrate the church.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you did go to
I thought I was gonna go.
Yes.
That's why I did
Oh,
all week, because I've got a baseboard, a black and white tile, and then 4.5 feet deep. I've got pinwheel mosaic tile on the floor, none of which I can get a spot of paint on. And I've got a second color on the roof.
I'm well. How are you, Nikki?
And so I went through miles of techniques and our great fingers, get this thing taped, and then had to caulk this puppy. And then, I mean, and then moving around all kinds of things, and, you know, it just was a real nightmare.
How are you, lady? Huh?
It's done,
Good to see you.
and I.
How are you doing? Hanging out in the parking lot all morning?
5 days, and
You're just standing outside enjoying the cold.
Never.
Thank you. I'll see you later. You're so kind. Stay warm. Bye-bye.
It's noted.
She's the current treasurer of the foundation. She lives in Rockford.
It's plenty warm in here. It feels good.
I do that when the heat's not running. I get cold, then it starts.
And
I
you
get
too
hot. Oh, thank you. Okay, so we're good. We knocked off 2 early. Oh, while we're sitting here, I just want to take a minute to thank Melissa. Melissa really did a great job of getting communication out to everyone. Everybody got a personalized email, all these organizations. She coordinated all of the information back, including people who did not respond and going, repeatedly getting in touch with them. She organized the doodle poll and the scheduling, which constantly changed. And there were last minute submissions, and she really did a fantastic job of organizing. It was very, very helpful to me, and I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah, this is,
Yeah.
I remember prior years often had to be spread over days and,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty intense.
Yeah.
Every time I look that way, I see the poster and it's disconcerting. Thank you.
And we were like,
Thanks.
Yeah. I have no idea what that means. So,
Is Roberta expected back on this afternoon?
I think it's just going to be dependent on whether she can make a connection. I didn't realize she was, I mean, now in retrospect, I do sort of remember her saying that the train 10:30, I just wasn't thinking. I thought she was already on it. So she was not. She was home today on that bit. So now she'll just try to connect when she can.
If I can bring up a couple of websites for my two here on my computer, but if we were able to bring them up on yours and project them, would that be possible?
I
Or would that complicate
think I
things?
can. I think I can. I think I can.
And this will be a fallback.
Okay.
If that is.
Yeah. I mean, we can certainly do it for the room. Yeah, we can use yours for the room or. Yeah. So we're expecting Tommy, yes?
Yes,
we
are.
You don't need anything?
Not right now. Thank you. Appreciate all you've done
Thank
for
you,
us.
Melissa.
I didn't think about the fireworks being the first one. We started off with a bang, didn't we?
Yes, you did.
I'll give you a 6 on that.
It is nice that someone's carrying on the tradition, though. It's not as nice as being able to walk to it. I did always appreciate that. But it is nice that somebody's carrying
I'm
on.
happy to set off fireworks off our back porch. You know, just give you the word.
Well, I
Another
believe me,
deal.
I've got a son who would be happy to join you.
I keep driving by Guerrilla Fireworks in February. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
was this a business plan that is going to work long term?
Well, I could do without the spontaneous fireworks that seem to start several days before.
Oh, yeah.
the 4th of July. And
Yeah.
extend several
Yeah.
days after.
But there are some long stretches between New Year's and 4th of July. And
So what are they really selling in there?
Mhm.
What are they really selling? Maybe they convince them to sell Halloween costumes, you know, those Halloween.
Oh, it's the
stores,
spirit of Halloween,
You know, to get, you know, fill out the rest of the year,
yeah,
you know.
explosive Halloween costume.
Right, they could just do up the gorilla like it's Halloween.
Gotcha.
Or for Easter, with a pair of ears, you know.
Right. So not exploding eggs, just,
Right, and just
it's not part of the deal on Easter.
rotate the stock,
Right.
you know.
Explosions are not part of Thanksgiving.
Right.
If you do it right. If you do it for,
Just
if you do frozen
have like a
turkey.
turkey or a pilgrim, you know. Right.
Just try to think, how do we add explosives to any holiday? Arbor Day. Great.
Well, not explosive, they just get the explosive out of there and put the theme thing for the
Yes.
season in. And so how would they dress this big gorilla up? You know, the cost. Here's the deal, you get the fire department to use the thing as practice for their lab. Well, it's not so far. In Vermont, every year, the fire department upon your
Hello.
would come by and use your lab. Shake the
table,
down
if
your
you would,
chimney.
please.
Am I learning?
That would knock the
Yeah.
soda out.
And there's a microphone there.
And,
so just
and
put
you
that on
made a
your
donation. And
collar.
the whole point was they got operating equipment on your rural house.
Yeah.
And that was an important thing. Yeah,
It benefits everybody.
it benefited everybody.
Okay. Welcome, Tommy.
Morning, everyone.
Thank you
Mark.
for taking
Hey,
the time to
Tom.
come
How are
here.
ya?
Tommy was here for the Harper Cemetery. And Tommy, before you get started, just as I tell everyone, our mission this morning, or early this afternoon, yeah, still morning, is to listen to what you have to say. We will not be making any decisions today. We're not going to be here second guessing why you need something for the cemetery. That's not our job. You know what your needs are much better than we do. If any of us have any clarifying questions, we'll ask those. And then in the future, the governing body, the Harpers Ferry Town Council, will get together and consider all 22 requests that we've gotten. And we'll be looking at each of the requests, and we have a certain amount of monies available to assist community organizations such as the Harper Cemetery. That doesn't mean that every request is going to get what they want, you know that. But we try to be fair in our assessment and our allocation. So with that, let me just turn it over to you and tell us what you've got going on at the cemetery.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mayor Vaughn. I'm here today representing the Harper Cemetery trustees. And we have a budget request this year from some assistance for some ongoing maintenance, beautification, improvement projects that are happening within the cemetery. The Harper Cemetery trustees, we all firmly believe that maintaining and continuing to beautify the cemetery at the end of Fillmore Street is a critical part of our town. To guests, to residents alike, it has such a unique history and a unique experience in being there. There are graves in the cemetery dating from the late 1700s through very recent burials that are still taking place, and lots are still being sold continuously year over year at the cemetery. There's a lot of work that's being done by members of the trustees and community volunteers who come to the cemetery regularly, doing cleaning and repair of headstones and tombstones, trimming of trees, removing any brush and debris that might accumulate from the thousands of visitors that pass through that park or that section of town on their visits to Harpers Ferry or the National Park each year. Most recently, each year we incur large expenses keeping the grass cut and maintaining the property. We have recently done a large remodeling, which you've probably seen, of the gate, the historic iron gate there at the entrance to the cemetery on Fillmore Street, which was at a cost of about $20,000. And the town was very generous in helping us to complete that project and install bollards to protect the gate and the fencing there from car traffic that had damaged it in the past and could potentially in the future. The caretaker's home was recently underwent a serious renovation and remodeling. at a cost of about $130,000 to the Board of Trustees there. And the fence along Fillmore Street was repaired at a cost of about $15,000. Most recently, the ongoing project that we've been working on is a gate that was previously used to indicate the entrance and exit for cars driving into the cemetery. Has been repaired, repainted, and reinstalled by contractor Daniel Rogers near its original location near the Lockwood House. So I believe be the west end of the property of the cemetery there, butting up against the Park Service grounds. The cost of this was about $9,500, and we're very thankful to the town for their contribution of $2,000 towards the use of that in the last fiscal year. At this time, our next step in that process is the reinstallation of 8 cast iron bollards that are 5 to 6 feet long, that were historically, and I can pass these pictures around if you'd like, that are up on that part of the property where the full fence proper ends. And there were these cast iron bollards that were originally there, and you can see their original locations as well as the restoration work that's been done to them, if you'd like. The reinstallation of these bollards, along with a black chain hanging between them, will complete the physical boundary that replicates what the cemetery, coming from Parks and Rec, so park is always what the cemetery originally looked like many years ago, as far as its fencing and exterior borders. This project requires not much in the way of materials, but is very labor intensive because it would be digging and pouring concrete or cement to secure these bollards. We have received an estimate of $1,200 from Brad Chandler to complete this project, and our request to the town this year would be to assist with 50% of that project, or a request of $600 to help us finish the long-going project of the restoration and renovation of the historic gates that surround the property. And also, if you would like a copy, there is a copy of the written estimate there from Mr. Chandler.
Did you get that in that packet?
So probably already, I don't know if you have that already.
Yes.
It's in
Okay.
there. Yeah, and it is an estimate. It says invoice, but it's an estimate.
Correct, yes. Thank you very much. So it's a pretty straightforward request this year, but it would go a long way in helping us to finish up the last final details and adding some of those historically accurate pieces back into the cemetery that have been missing for a number of years. And we would greatly appreciate your consideration as you're going through these funding requests for helping the Board of Trustees in this work.
Questions? Thank you.
I think that's about as clear as it gets. I have no
Yeah.
questions.
Okay.
Nicely composed.
Where would the other 600, would you expect to use that from?
So we would pay that from our accounts, the Board of Trustees. So we have accounts that we are paying the existing landscaping and mowing out of, and then money's coming in and out from rent of the house, lot sales, things like that. So yeah, Gary Gunyan is our treasurer, and he oversees those accounts, but we would pay the remaining balance ourselves.
And it's clearly 906 historic preservation.
Right. 906, and just a reminder about process. So what will happen is after the council lays the levy in April, towards the end of April, first part of May, you would get some confirming information about provisionally approved funding. Once we get towards the fiscal year and you're ready to embark upon this project, it's time to come back and just make sure that we're still anticipating our budget to be the same. Any updates or refinement to your project that's the time to present that and say, okay, this is what we want. We'll take that to council, get final approval on it. And then I think we have reimbursement. So once you pay, then you just provide us a copy of the check reimbursed to you. Also, just make sure that, and I believe Mr. Chandler does, but just make sure anybody who you're contracting with has a business license in Harper's Ferry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Absolutely. Well, thank you all very much for your time and your consideration. I appreciate
Sure.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Vaughn.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn Vaughn.
Good to see you.
Yes.
George, good to see you.
Good to see you. Hey.
Good to see you.
See you.
I'll come this way too. Great. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Who do I talk to by verifying my lot location there?
So right now, Lynn is the keeper of the data. I'm working on some I'm working on some options for some tools in the future. We might be able to get some mapping done and some things where you could go online and be able to view lots available, lots to be purchased, things like that. So more long term. But in the meantime,
Who do I present my documentation to?
Lynn,
Okay.
yeah, she has kind of the master files right now for
Okay.
lot ownership, and then we're looking into ways to convert that.
Hopefully I
into
won't have to be your
digital
customer too soon.
Yeah.
Long-term plan.
I've got one too, but I'm hoping not to use it for a very long
Yes.
time.
For a very long, very long.
Yes.
Very long. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thanks,
day.
Jeremy. There she is. Jen. She's getting ready to murder.
Okay,
No.
parking.
John Brown's handling that.
Yeah.
And-
Oh, so what did we say we were moving up here?
Well, Chris said he could
I thought
go
we were.
so Dark Skies.
John is in a training session right now with the county, and so he'll be here after lunch.
Okay, but wait, we said that there was something we were gonna move up in place of. No, we already did snow removal. Okay,
Oh, right.
so we could, rather than actually taking Chris's, why don't I see if Patty, see if she either wants to go now or after lunch where Chris is.
Yeah, we can knock out Parks and Rec. That's a big
Yeah.
chunk.
That's a pretty easy one.
Wow. Zipping along.
Zippity doo.
We get done early, what are we gonna do with all that extra time tonight?
I don't know. Well, actually, I think.
Okay, she's gonna bring on Parks and Rec for us now.
Okay.
So that is item number.
Q?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, is that what it is, Q? Thank you. No, that's not Q. That is gonna be
Yes.
S. After the tree committee.
And so this is specifically the Parks and Rec request.
Parks and Rec.
Right now.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, the seat.
Grab your microphone.
Oh, okay. Okay, you guys ready?
There. Do you want to make any opening comments?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna treat Patty any different than anybody else. Patty, we're here for, consider allocation requests from a variety of different entities in the town. We are not here to second guess the needs of the Parks and Rec Commission. You know your needs better than we do. So we're not going to be interrogating you on your requests. We're here basically to listen. If any of us have any clarifying questions, we'll pose those to you. And Debbie also has the authority to ask any finance-related questions that she may have. We're not making any decisions today. That will take place at a further date where we will evaluate all 22 requests. And then based on our total funding that we have available in the town, we will make allocations at that particular point. So with that said, you've got it between now and 1:30.
I think you mean 11:30.
Well, you can actually, this is a good slot for you because you do have a lot here and we are good till lunch. I mean,
Oh, good.
hopefully you
So
don't take
maybe
that long,
we
but
do
you can
other
take,
things.
you can
Okay,
take some of
perfect.
these other items, yep.
Okay, well, we'll start with Parks and Rec, and on behalf of Parks and Rec, I want to thank you for the opportunity to discuss Parks and Rec's fiscal year 26 budget request. And looking at your agenda, I see the town has a multitude of expenses to consider. So we understand that some of these items may get postponed. Parks and Rec provides the town with 9 annual events. We do the annual Easter egg hunt, Earth Day celebration, music on the ridge, art in the park, the scarecrow contest, the great pumpkin roll contest, Halloween trick or treat, the cookie walk, and the film festival. We also continue to improve the children's park, and we also assist with the annual town Christmas tree lighting before All Time Christmas. The commission is also discussing some new family fun activities for the year, and they include summer music events at the gazebo, possibly organizing an Oktoberfest and bringing that back to the town, and holding a new event called Pizza in the Park or an ice cream social. Some of our community activities are free to the public, others raise funds, for which the commission has shared some of our proceeds with local organizations. Parks and Rec has donated monies to the Harpers Ferry Volunteer Library, the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, and the Women's Club. In addition to funding, Parks and Rec has been asked to consider adding to our request this year monies to possibly fund bike racks for the Byron Bridge project. And we are working on a small commemorative sign to recognize the contribution of the land gift by the Alexanders down on Potomac Street. We are also through in here a request for a small portable PA system so that we can make announcements at our events. And this PA system could be used for other groups or organizations or town functions as needed. Please let me know if you have any questions on the backup that I provided. We thank you for your support for the Parks and Rec Commission. And I do have a couple of additional attachments that I can hand out to you that would be backup on some of those requests that I've submitted if you want to see an example of something. And with that being said, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, just in particular for the newer events. I don't think, we just got the sheets, I don't think we got the backup on them. But I'll ask about the gazebo event, like how is that imagined?
So what that is, and we've talked about this for several years now, and then we just got so busy. We were thinking of during the summer months, because we try to scatter our events throughout the year, we don't really have anything for summer. So we were talking about the possibility of looking at maybe the 4 Saturdays in August and having local musicians play at the gazebo. I don't think the cost would be that extensive. There are the ideas of passing the hat or just kind of do summer jamming. And we would try to organize those for Saturdays during the summer months.
Okay, so it wouldn't be actually like a concert series that would be promoted, it would just be paying musicians to play at the gazebo.
Yes, kind of a summer jamming type thing.
Yeah, and we'll be able to, if we have the detail of the expenses of the new programs, we can use that for deliberation. And I remember the Oktoberfest. Actually, I think we could have the detail on that.
Yeah, I think there is a document, that's a spreadsheet that gives you
All the way in the
line
back,
items.
behind
So
all the
those are our
pages.
best estimates.
Yeah.
And for that summer event, we possibly could get local musicians who just want to participate and play. So it's something we've talked about on and off, and then kind of time gets away from us and we don't do it.
I would talk about one year that's new. Conceptually, how do you see this, the pizza in the park or the ice cream social? How do you see that?
So that's been brought up. Pizza in the Park would be a free event for children and families trying to get them into the playground. The ice cream social was a brainstorm from somebody outside the entity trying to get the community together. So it's a new venture. We haven't really finalized, our thoughts on it. So we kind of gave estimates of what would it cost us to have pizza and water and paper plates to support that. And with the ice cream social, it gets a little bit more expensive because you got to do the ice cream and all that.
Are you looking at like the fall or late summer or in the spring?
Possibly late summer.
And in terms of where the funding would come from, is this something that is going to be promoted like just within the community, or is it something that's going to be promoted more widely?
Some of our events, we try not to get too broad because we really want to focus on just the town community and our children.
Yeah.
We have 24 children in town now, which is a record-breaking number. Our Easter egg hunt is a lot of fun, and we do get a lot of outside people, but I don't want that broadcast out to the county because we're not prepared for that many.
Oh yeah, I'm asking in terms of.
So this would be similar.
Because we're looking at funding coming out of 906 or out of 402 economic development. That's basically what it's.
It would be mostly local.
Are we okay, Debbie, with pizza and ice cream? It's a consumable item with
So-
state code.
Yeah, so let me just review how all that works. You can provide some food, but it must be available for everyone, anyone. So you have to, it has to be advertised to everyone, that kind of thing. That's why we can't have food at this event, because this would be just, if you bring in food, it would just be for this group sitting here. So the food, and I would want to, on each event like this, I would really want to make sure that we understand it, how we're promoting it, et cetera. And I'd probably want to give a call and make sure that we're covered before we proceed. And
with the
have it
health
crossed.
insurance as well. And
Oh, the health, that's a whole
department.
nother, that's a whole nother thing.
And we understand
Yeah.
all of that.
yeah.
These are just concepts.
Mhm.
We haven't really dove into it, and we may or may not even do it.
Yeah.
So we wanted to put that out there so that there is a line item should we, and we would have to really cross our Ts and dot our Is and bring it to budget and finance for the request for the funding.
Right.
I think it's great you're thinking out of the box.
Trying to think some different things.
They're pretty cool.
And that being said, I mean, it's something that, if it doesn't mean that people can't volunteer.
Yeah.
But then also when it's a town supported thing, then you get into that issue of the health department and all that kind of stuff. And it's a little more gray, sometimes people volunteered with their contributions on a smaller scale to start to see if it's effective, and then you can move from there.
And at most of our events that are held on public property, it's not only town people that do come. We do
Right.
get a lot of tourists popping in, and we welcome them. We just wouldn't advertise that countywide because we're not prepared for that.
Yeah, you put the sign out here and but it's not like, oh, you can't come in because you don't live in
No,
Harper's
we
Ferry. That's
never
the kind of
turn
thing that you
anybody
But
can't.
away.
Right.
it's geared towards
Right.
a certain audience, but
Right.
that doesn't mean
Right.
anybody.
We never
Right.
turn anybody away from any event.
One of the emphasis on the item that you have on here with the bike racks. Patty and I talked about this several weeks ago. I got an inquiry from the superintendent, basically saying that when the bridge closes for a period of time, we will probably be inundated with bicycles coming into the town. And her thoughts were, is the town prepared for the bicycles, particularly after the bridge is done, and it's easy access for those coming off the canal with bicycles. Right now, they gotta put them at the bottom of the steps over in Maryland,
Yeah.
or walk them, pick them up. But it's the superintendent's feeling that we're gonna have a lot more bicycle traffic in town, and Patty and I sat down and talked about the impact, and that's the reason that this one is run.
And also, when the new bridge has been created, it is going to be user-friendly for bicycles.
Yeah.
Right now, people leave them on the other side, but
Right.
now they'll be able to take their bikes across very easily. So that's, I think, her feeling of why we would have more traffic. The question is, where you put these?
I was just gonna ask that, have
Yeah.
locations been identified for
Like,
that?
well, and that's a tough one, because you don't really want them at the point where we do own town property.
There is one at the point, isn't there?
Is there? But it's to the side, it's not at the point.
Well, it's along the fence.
Okay, because one of my thoughts would be on the grassy area kind of a triangle area when you walk to the point and then you walk around that grass to get to the bridge, but I think that's CSX property.
Yeah.
But that would be an ideal location for them.
I think there's several possibilities, just a couple of thoughts that, Trail in Town was very involved in the few bike racks coming in years ago, including the one here at the post office. And, so, you know, keep in touch with Trail in Town about it. Also, Matt Molinax's office might have some resources for vendors and suppliers.
This is not in your packet, but I did do some research online and we're looking, I would suggest this type of rack versus the ones that go like
Yeah.
this. This way you can drive them in and
And there's
Park.
currently one that's mashed up in the
Yeah,
park on
Summit
Summit Street. Yeah.
You know, but something to think about, there are some special needs with especially the long distance tourists coming into town. We need a little bit more room for those racks or more support. So I think it's a real exciting idea and some exciting. Yeah, the other thing was Laura Wright talked to me about the idea of having some kind of tool station or something like a lot of the bike trails have on them now.
the outfitters used
people
to
can-
do bike repair, but they don't do it anymore.
Yeah, but these are the little stations that you find on some of the trails, so people can wheel their bikes up and pump air in. It'll have a wrench attached to the cable, that kind of thing.
The
So,
thing with location for these racks is, in my opinion, you want them closer to the point, closer to the bridge. You don't want people to have to come all the way over, ride down to the end of Potomac Street to park their bikes, and then walk back to enjoy the town, and walk back to get their bikes, to walk back to get to the bridge. So in my thought process, the closer to that entrance where you're gonna have this traffic is better than having them go off the town.
I found it interesting that when Tanya did call me on, you know, the town needs to plan for inundation of bicycles, and are we prepared for it, blah, blah, blah. At no time was it ever mentioned that the park would be also
Yeah.
putting in bicycle
They could
racks.
fix up the lot, the trees have grown up next to the power plant down there, and we could all bike parking.
Yeah, so.
Well, we might also talk to Tonya about what can you do to help us? And maybe where the parking used to be down there under the trestle, there might be a space somewhere down there.
Oh, that's a good
Again,
idea.
It's closer to coming
Yeah.
off the
That's a good
bridge
idea.
Yeah,
than going all the way down to Potomac Street.
historically, there's been parking there.
Yeah.
Bicycles.
Exactly. And it's out of the way. It's, yeah.
So maybe we can talk to her about
Yeah,
that location, and then maybe we can talk about partnering with, we'll buy some, you buy some. But anyway, that's why I put it on there.
No,
And I
that's a
didn't know
good
where to
idea.
put it, so I put it in
Yeah,
Parks and
yeah,
Rec.
yeah.
And then Music on the Ridge,
Mhm.
so is the plan still to have the stage as it's been, or to
Yes.
connect it?
Yes, this year we are looking at using another training center, the park there. Hopefully we can get that same sound package that we got from last year. And we're actually talking to musicians now about that event.
Right.
Now, this Music on the Ridge coming up in June is still under the current budget. So this is for the following year. But we do want to continue to use Mather Training Center if we can.
Yeah, and I would hope when that one, Patty, that the Park Service would reconsider and allow us to access the power that they have instead of us having to bring in a generator,
We're not having
which I think detracts from the event itself.
Yes,
Mhm.
and I think it's on the budget just in case, but I think this year with Tanya being on the scene, I might have some assistance in making that happen. The last year or two, not so much. We'll see. So I'm hoping that could be just a line that we can drop out of our budget or our expenses.
All right, any other questions for Patty?
No,
George, anything?
No.
Rich? Thank you, Patty.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
looks like a great lineup.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, and then what's really nice is we have 5 people now. And everyone kind of takes 1 or 2 of the events and kind of spearheads it so it doesn't fall on one person's shoulders anymore.
Yeah, and also some of them have records that we've done it in the past, they kind of know what.
Right, right. We have a little playbook and then after every event, we do a lessons learned. And we try to tweak and see what we can do better.
So we could, since Patty's here and it's 11:30, we could do the town parks item there, which she sort of, you and she have worked on together.
We did. That would be item 1
Q.
Q. Yes, 1 Q.
So the first sheet of this item says town park maintenance and beautification as the project.
So we have a couple directions here that Patty and I have been talking about more efficiently dealing with the parks that we have. And we have Union Park, the gazebo, the Potomac Street area, and then the Children's Park. And in the past couple of years, I guess, Patty, we brought in Cornerstone.
You know, I brought in Grant's Landscaping for 2 years. And then last year I brought in Cornerstone.
Yeah, and what they basically did was come in with a one-shot deal, prune and bring in mulch and all that. And we're looking at the fact that this is something, and that's right in the middle of the growing season, this is absolutely something that Larry can attend to. So it was essential that we went in that direction. And then although we upgraded it by bringing in a vendor to give a one-shot deal, Larry still went in there and cut the grass in parks. And what we're looking at is possibly, is it included on this one, Dave?
No, so you have.
That's
right.
the other one?
No, I'm sorry. It is included on this one. However, the dollar amount is not noted for what you're going to say. So what's on here as the dollar amount, the $4,215, is that annual maintenance for the first year.
Right. And then the second one is the dollar amount for maintaining the weekly maintenance of it, cutting the grass.
Right, and there's no dollar amount for that. They would be looking at getting a contract to do the mowing of just the parks, not the easements, not all the other areas that need to be cut. So these would be just the parks that are listed there, the Children's Park, the Potomac Street Park, the Gazebo Park, and Union Park.
I mean, they look great after they come in there and they do the one shot. I think it's something that we need to continue. And then I think it's also something that we need to take a look at, basically contracting the grass in the parks. Turn that over to a contractor.
So to clarify, the 4,200 is mainly mulching and just general.
Yeah, they come in one time with edging. What else, Patty? They edge,
They'll
they mulch,
edge.
they trim,
Mhm.
they prune, all that.
And sometimes we add flowers or shrubs, you know,
Mhm.
some seasonal flower.
okay, so I guess it could go under beautification or would it be under maintenance?
Oh, I'm sorry. So we can decide that. I mean, there's a case to be made for beautification, and town parks does fall under the purview of 906 if we so choose. It could also fall under streets, contracted services.
And the second one is basically focusing on Union Park, which is right next to us, correct?
That's correct.
And that's the fountain area. At one time, that was a focal point in an operational patio, wasn't it, years ago?
Well, The fountain never operated as far as I know. There's water source there. I've been working on this fountain thing for possibly 2 years now, because I really want to get this fountain running. And I did discover that this fountain was purchased through a grant from the Women's Club at an antique store. When they bought this, however, I believe, after all this investigation, there most likely was a bottom basin to it that wasn't there at the time they purchased the fountain. So they purchased this fountain and installed it, and you can get water, the water goes up through it, cascades down, but there's no way to recirculate. So last summer or the summer before, I worked on that. We sealed it, we got a pump, we had the electric run, and I had it running, and it was beautiful. She's a little tipped, so she spills over, and she leaks. And within 3 hours, the basement was dry, and the pump was running and running and running. I had to run out and refill it. So we were losing too much water. So then I did some other research, and that's when I found out or realized we need that bottom basin where it catches the water, pump there, and it recirculates. But I couldn't find anybody to come up with the idea. All I could think of is like a kiddie pool underneath it would work, maybe. So I worked with Cornerstone, and they came over and took a look, and I have their proposal here. And what their proposal, they also looked at the stone wall that is around the fountain, and it does need pointing up. We are losing a lot of the stone. And so that does need repair regardless. So that was a major portion, well, that was a big portion of this bid, but that was like $4,500 to do that.
Right.
They also gave me a price to literally take the fountain out, refurbish it. What they would do is dig a small area underneath it to create a pool. They would reinstall it. The pump would down below, and it would recirculate the water. There'd be a grate over this pool so that leaves and everything wouldn't get caught in the pool. It's kind of what you might see. You see these a lot in Florida and in restaurants where the water shoots up and kids are running through it and it goes down into those little grates, kind of like that. And they also included in this bid to start it up in spring, close it down in the winter. You could have it run all year round, but then there's more expense to put a heater in. So it's kind of like building a small swimming pool. And that price was $8,500.
Would it include lights?
There is a line item in here if you want lights.
And are they talking about shipping something here or casting a pool in
They would be
place?
building it over here, and they said that they did not think they would have to disturb the shrubs. And I asked the Women's Club before, as I was investigating this, what do you feel about these shrubs? If we had to lose some of them to get equipment in there, and they said they didn't care. And I said, okay, I was surprised at
So what's the outside diameter of the pool we're talking about?
that. I don't know, we have to go there. and
Something that fits.
Something that fits
Fits in there.
in there, and enough that it catches the cascaded water that comes
Right.
over that whole basin over there. And they might have given you more specifics in here. They did.
Didn't we
Yes.
talk about moving the stone
Yes.
wall into this year's?
Yes.
Essentially be the fourth
So this
year.
was because Patty brought this to Budget and Finance last month, I want to say, and Budget and Finance recommended possibility of moving forward with just the wall in this fiscal year and pushing the rest of it possibly to next fiscal year. So that's why this is here. And they have not had the opportunity to take it to council. And I think, I can't remember if there was something else that needed to be done with the wall thing or not. I'm
I think
a
it
little
was-
fuzzy about that.
I think there was only the one bid, and the dollar amount would require, I think,
Yeah,
three.
Right, okay.
Two cash
And I have
reserves.
not done anything
Okay.
yet, but
So the thinking was that we could possibly address the wall in fiscal '25 and the rest of it in fiscal '26.
Yeah.
But this gave the opportunity to present the whole project to council as a unit, and then decisions can be made appropriately. Yeah,
And that 4,500 is just for repointing the
the
wall,
wall.
just for repointing.
Well, I think they would dismantle part of it and rebuild.
I think
It
it's
is,
rebuilding.
it's in need of work.
Okay.
That's why, it'd be good to get another bid or two, just
I was gonna
because somebody
say,
else
because
might.
if that's the
be able
thing,
to do
I'll repoint it on.
You know, people do walk on it, and there's a few that are loose, and then they've fallen off and they've broken. And,
And I guess just in coordinating that, I guess the main thing we want to make real sure of is that we don't repair the wall and then Cornerstone or whoever.
Right, breaks the wall,
That
right.
would have
To
to,
tear it apart.
yeah.
And they said they have a
Good
piece
idea.
of equipment that they can park outside of it that has an arm that comes in over the shrubs.
Right.
The first vendor I talked to needed to pull out half the shrubs to get in there to start digging. And, we have to look at where the water line comes in, where the electrical line comes in. It's a Miss Utility here, and that's where they are. But we would call Miss Utility.
Well, if you save enough on the repointing, we'd be able to add ambient music and aromatherapy.
Yeah, and they did ask, they said you could open it up and kids could play in it. I'm like, no.
We want to be a little bit careful of that. There's been a big
Yeah.
scare with some viruses
Yes.
spreading.
Right, don't make it a ball pit.
No, it's not, no.
The big part of the price on a house.
It's the pool.
That's for
And
the
it's a
money.
well, I don't wanna say it's a one-time cost, because you could have maintenance, but you have your opening and shutting. I don't know if we have to put any chemicals in the water or not.
Yeah.
All right, anything else for Tyler?
There's a couple others I have here.
Okay, go right ahead.
All right, so I have here. Oh, unless you're covering this, something about, here's the paving. So as you all remember.
So we already did the
done
paving.
paving.
You already
Yeah,
did
yep, we
paving?
took care of paving. Okay, that's cool.
Okay,
Okay, she's got the list, which we were wondering about the list, so that's, if you just leave that when we have a minute.
I
They
have
can-
the list, and I wanna say, these areas have gotten
Mhm.
worse.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this needs to be resurveyed.
Yep.
I would basically go over that.
I'm sure the snow and ice heaven helps.
Okay, and then did you also cover, Debbie, the bows and the wreaths for Potomac Street?
The mayor will have
flags?
that, and if you have that documentation, that can just go with his thing. He'll take care of that when he goes to all the town hall.
And I
Yep.
think that's it.
Yep.
All right,
Cool.
Thanks, Karen.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Patty.
you're welcome, and I do have some attachments that I'll just button up and give to Debbie
Excellent.
for the
Okay.
backup.
Perfect.
Things we asked for.
Yep.
Okay.
All right,
you.
awesome. Yes, you can leave that behind. Okay, so it's not on our actual time schedule, but it is in our agenda. I just got mixed up. So we have Dark Skies coming forward. Come have a seat over here. And that will take us right up to noon. Perfect. And
Debbie, what was the one you mentioned, or Patty mentioned up to Tony Street? And
Um,
the mayor will cover?
that is in your town council packet about the flags and the
Oh,
wreaths
okay.
that go for decoration. Yeah. So if you don't mind taking a microphone, put on your lapel there, that'll help us pick up all the audio. And this is item H in your packet. Mayor,
Okay. You're asking an outrageous amount.
I know, I was nervous about that.
A little strong. Well, the last request
We're gonna
was
have to
for
really talk about
$13,000.
this.
So 13,000.
Well, we're really frugal. We've got a whole lot with very little. We're kind of proud of that.
Let me just make a couple opening comments that I'm telling everybody that we are here to listen to what your need is for Dark Sky, which is, in my opinion, a very important committee. And we're not here to judge the merits of yours. That's, you guys say you have a need, we're not gonna question your assessment that you have a need. So we'll sit here and listen, and if any of us have questions.
Point of clarification, this is not the Dark Skies Committee, this is Dark Sky Chapter.
Correct.
Right. The international,
Yes.
Yes.
Order of Dark Skies.
right, international.
independent of the town's organization.
Independent of the ones that Storm is on. And,
Yeah.
Different sky.
I get those confused also.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. So, we'll sit and we'll listen if we have any questions, when we ask. We're not gonna make any decisions today. We will assess all 22 applicants sometime in the future, and based on the town's available monies, we'll make decisions then. So let me just turn it.
Okay. So I'll make it short, kind of in proportion to the amount of money we're asking for here. We are looking for funding to purchase a sky quality meter. That's going to allow us to make a formal survey of the night sky to assess light pollution and create a light pollution map that we will use to gauge our effectiveness over time. We'll be able to look back historically at how bright it used to be and how bright it's not as time passes. This is the device that allows us to gather that data, to give us a quantifiable metric to work from. The meter is also going to be the centerpiece of our citizen science program. We're going to work with Parks and Recreation and develop some hands-on opportunities for residents and their families to learn about light pollution and what they can do. And most of what we do is by education. For the most part, it doesn't require anybody to make any huge changes in their lighting or their infrastructure. It just requires a little bit of thinking and knowing what to think about. And kids are really good at pointing out where lights are from. They have a whole different perspective on what lights are and shadows are. And so getting them involved is, it's good for us right now. It's also good for the future. It gives them something to think about when in 20 years when they're sitting at a table like this, they know where they're coming from. The data can also be used by the town in pursuit of its Dark Sky initiative and its comprehensive planning goals. The data and the map we create with that, we would make available for free to the town, its committees, and all that stuff, so you guys can use as you see fit. And then, the meter is a major step forward for us as an organization because it allows us to, make data-driven change. This is a real thing. We can measure it and calculate it over time. And we already have some assistance in its purchase. We have a donor who has agreed to fund a 50% funds match, and we're asking Harper's Ferry to contribute half of the remaining funds, which is $39. We're asking Bolivar for the same. It is a small amount, but I can promise you that no more than $39 gets talked about in this room today. It's going to have this kind of value. This is a really small amount that goes a long way. And if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
Is this $39, what's the total expense of it?
$155.
Is this $155 a Walmart or a Neiman Marcus? Because if there's something out there high end, why are we not considering something like that?
So this is the industry standard for citizen science work. It's affordable and it's reliable. It's on the low end of the cost scale. It uses a different light measuring theory of operation than say the larger light meters. The larger ones, they start at $7,000 or $8,000, and they require a whole lot. They require specialists to use, and there's a lot of data processing and analysis on the backside that we're not equipped to do, and it gets entirely away from the citizen science aspect. We want to involve the residents, and the advantage with this is that its output, the data that it outputs is already in a format that is used by the Globe at Night and the International Dark Sky Polls. So there's no data conversion or in-depth data analysis that we have to do to make this work. So, I don't want to say it's Walmart. I guess the Walmart solution would be there's an app for iPhones that simulates a sky quality meter, but it's not very well regarded.
I was just thinking that if there's a quality above this,
There
by
is.
all means pursue something like that.
Yeah, it's a huge step. It's not really practical. Mostly what you get into to stay under like $2,000 or so, the biggest differences are in the way they log data. Like some of them, they're waterproof and they're made to install and leave outside all the time, which, we just don't need that.
So it sounds like this meter will produce accurate enough results for the purposes that Dark Skies.
Yeah, I mean, the more expensive meters, you get into real scientific instrumentation, and there's no return for that, for what we.
Would you see a utility in buying two?
I'm sorry?
Would you see a utility in buying two instead of just one? I mean, I'm looking at, this, I've never seen a request for $39.
Yeah.
I know it's rough to handle.
If I can, I'll like to explain that. So there's a twofold thing here. Is one, we're entirely self-funded, so every dollar does count. All our materials that we do, our website and all that, it's internal. So we've come a long way with not much, and we don't need much to do that. And there's a second component here, and that's more about organizational growth. The donor would like to see us expand more and work more with the town, and not just be more than just some folks who are going to talk to the kids. We want to be active participants in this, and this was a fairly easy way to do that.
I don't think anybody disagrees. Debbie?
Okay. This has nothing to do with the amount of money.
Right.
This has to do with the fact that we are looking at purchasing a device rather than funding an event that would involve advertising or something like that. We've had other organizations who we've had request a device, and the question starts to become, if you're having the funds for that device come from various places, who is the owner of the device? Where will the device be stored? How is the device ownership conveyed over time? If in fact that organization who originally bought it may dissolve or may change presidents, or how is all of that handled? And I'm not trying to be difficult.
No.
I'm just trying to say that this has come up with other pieces and people, and I don't want you to run into a roadblock as we move forward.
Well, it's a fair question. And, I think there's two ways to look at that. One is you can look at it as you're actually purchasing data from us. The purchase is actually ultimately to provide data that you can use in town programs. But as far as the device ownership and stuff goes, honestly, we hadn't really thought that far ahead because the amount is so small. And it's, and I understand how that could scale and be a problem. But, for a device like this that never really come up, I know that my telescope that I make available to the Dark Sky group, that's a huge investment. It's like you can buy a car. I just keep it, and in this case, Andrew Lee, our titular leader with Park Service,
Right.
he would assume hold on to that.
Right. So, we've had this with other people, and it absolutely has. I mean, I think it's awesome, and the data would be valuable, but it becomes a difficult discussion when you put, and I don't want to get into deliberating, but we need to define this in order to move this forward. It becomes a difficult discussion when you say, well, okay, but you bought a piece of equipment for this much money. Why won't you buy a piece of equipment for Bob over here in his organization for maybe a little bit more money? And so that's where the concern comes. I mean, where is it stored? And it becomes a publicly funded thing. So is that something that the public can use?
Well, maybe
How?
that is the answer, is if it were not an ask for a physical thing, but for a service.
Right. So for instance, you talk about, that you want to get kids involved and you want to have more of the community involved. Maybe the ask could become not necessarily for the device, but for that event. So maybe you need advertising for that event, or maybe you need, something else.
Or for a program.
A program, yeah.
It could be stated as for the, specific citizen science program.
it's.
Well, that's certainly, that's an easy enough thing to have to wait till next year to be there.
No, just, you can, I mean, I think, one way to handle this would be to say, that you would like to reconsider the objective. We could put towards an X number of dollars, and we can find a place in the budget where it would belong. We've not used this or worked with this organization before, and ask them to redefine their project and bring it back into budget and finance, and that can then be conveyed to council.
As an event cost, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Well, it's a support program like with the library. They have programs that they run.
right.
It could be a similar structure, and this is part of the regular process where we then
As
go
opposed
back.
to a piece of hardware.
Yeah,
I think,
Exactly.
I mean, so in my thing, the documents I provided, we've already developed a field manual and the data collection sheets for people to use, you know, it's not a big thing for me to reformat this.
So right, so that kind of expense where you're pulling together the manuals, you need notebooks for that, and that's going to be distributed to the public, right? So that's the kind of thing
And
that
there's a
is
producer
more,
That's available.
right.
Would he need to get this transformation of this request done by or before our meeting
No,
next week?
I don't think so. I think that we can say
move
that
it
you've
forward.
discussed this and that he's going to re-present
Okay.
within the next couple of months, once he's had an opportunity to visit with his group and talk about it and form an
Sure.
idea. I think we can make a placeholder here.
Because we can't do things on contingent, like we can pass it,
Right.
assuming the proposal comes forward, and it does just check the box of
Okay.
this is public funding, and we can say,
Right.
okay, we're using.
Right.
I get that, it's easy enough. I mean, I can have it tonight if you want it, you know, get it done.
Well, I mean, if you do get it done, as the mayor said, next week, council will be deliberating about all of these funding requests. And certainly at that time, that's a great time for them to review it if you have it done. But also, you know, it can come through budget and finance
Okay.
at a later time.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this, when I do have this done, who do I take this to?
Send it in through me or Storm. Yep.
You do a flip side.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Do we not make public monies available to the library to purchase stuff?
Which is then used by the public and consumed by the public and then gone. So
One
like if they
difference-
buy clay
At the physical location.
at the physical location, then the clay is gone. The clay, it's not like they're asking to buy a potter's wheel. They're asking to buy materials to to fund a program and an event.
And also their books are available to the public.
Yeah, like not anybody could go and borrow the light meter in this situation. Fine.
Problem with this is there's a residue, to use a legal term.
Right. And
There's a
we've been down this road with this council on this particular topic with ownership of a device in the past.
But I also think, kind of springboarding off your concern that this is too small, you might think about things that you want to do in the future, maybe for fiscal year 2027. Are there workshops? Are there activities that would be easy to coordinate with the town that maybe the park would have difficulty doing?
So I can warn you right now, you'll see me next year, it will be $39. But this is the,
Yeah, you're getting started. Yeah.
Our we're just saying hello here.
But that is part of the whole point, is organizations that are going to contribute to the town, to the community, to the residents.
Yeah, we have this year, our goal, or for our organization this year, is the light meter and the sky quality study and the map. And, we have to have those tools in place to really go out. And once we have that in place, we have several things we want to do. We're going to become more active with the astronomy program for the public and, walk around and, we'll come to people's homes for free and tell them how they can adjust their lights and point them towards products if they need different lights, things like that. But we have to get to a point, a data-driven.
Like, have a baseline. And then
Yeah.
Thank you,
All
Jeff.
right, I tried.
No, this is good. I like it.
Well, actually, it opens up more possibilities.
It does. And honestly, and this was presumptuous on my part, I didn't know that I would be doing all this for $39.
But you've done so much more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know, it all kind of happened, kind of short notice. I didn't want to miss this opportunity, so that's why we're here.
It's fine. It's perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
See you later.
All right, so
All right, so
we can convene, we'll convene this meeting and then we will start another, a second, you're very welcome, a second Zoom meeting at 1:00 for the next grouping. So this Zoom session will
Right,
convene
so we can turn off our.
Mhm. As an intermission. And actually, if you guys don't mind, put them up here and we'll charge them
Yeah.
while we're at lunch. So I'm going to stop this particular session.
There you go.